Hey, everybody. Oh my gosh, Russell, I did not know that Clint Eastwood passed away. But I've been so busy with work that hadn't even had time to check the news. Wow, what a day. And as TJ put in the chat, the end is nigh, at least for our Friday 13th, the series episode discussions. Tonight we finish them up and then we move on to Tales from the Crypt. So I'm really looking forward to, and I hate to say this, but like these last few episodes really cemented the like downward trend that this show took. And I didn't realize how much of a nosedive it actually took. Now, there were a few um, episodes that were okay in this bunch, but for the most part, I just wasn't real happy with them. Um, Liz, will you say you're telling TJ you made a Jello mold, a celebratory Jello mode for this occasion? I guess TJ likes Jello because he said Jello. Um, he's shaking his head. So I guess he was being sarcastic about that. I like Jello sometimes, but I prefer like chocolate pudding, like Jello chocolate pudding, and I actually have some cook and serve sugar free chocolate pudding I might have tonight a little later. But wow, I guess I'm gonna have to pull out my favorite Clint Eastwood movies this weekend. Um, I may do you never know with me. I may do a memorial tribute for Clint Eastwood. So, um, oh, good Lord, I'm too tired to even do that. I would say there's no sides on a circle, Russell, but my brain is kind of mush right now, so I'm gonna go ahead and add TJ or Mr. Last Friday. Hey, TJ.
How's it going?
Okay, till I saw that Clint Eastwood passed away. Like,
Where did he get that information? Because I'm looking on the internet and
you
nobody's saying
can't
anything
find
about
it?
that.
Huh.
His stunt double died. I don't know when this was written, but
Well, maybe I'm hoping Russell got some misinformation, maybe. I
there's
gotta
someone
look it
said
up
Tony
now,
Roberts
too.
died the other day too, and that was wrong also. People are wrong. So
So maybe he is still alive. I hope he is.
yeah, can't find a date on this.
I see Clint Eastwood is apparently in fine health at age 87. Clint Eastwood is not dead despite sad news from Facebook, and that was last year. So maybe this is another death hoax.
Yeah, and Tony Roberts is also still alive.
Tony Roberts is? Oh,
Yeah,
great. Well,
people should really double check their sources before. There was
uh,
a sports announcer named Tony Roberts that died. Maybe that was the mix up.
no, yeah, the confusion there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until I
Uh,
start seeing was on after people's name, they're still alive. So
yeah. Usually, if you put, the person in like on like a Google search and put died or death, usually if they've really died, it'll show up like the first two at least results that come back there. So
yeah,
you
double check
you
your
you may be
sources.
don't believe everything you hear on the internet until you check it out.
Or if Russell says it. Kidding, I'm kidding.
No, I promise we're not making fun of you, Russell. I really thought, I've been so out of it lately that I thought, well, maybe I just Just missed that totally.
Mm.
But okay, well, that makes me feel a little brighter. That both Tony Roberts and Clint Eastwood are still among the living. Um, so thank you, Blissful. Blissful says, please hit the thumbs up. Thank you. Dirk says we should do Freddy's Nightmares after this, TJ. Oh, man.
I don't know.
I don't know. After the bummer turn that Friday the 13th, the series took, I think I'm ready for some uh, little bit uh, brighter episodes, if you can call something from a horror anthology television series or cable television
It
series.
Tales from the Crypt, they're all tragic endings. I don't know what. There's nothing bright about them.
No, but they might be. I don't know. Like, didn't you think this took a nosedive? Or am I
The
still on
season,
the I don't like Johnny train?
Johnny's terrible. They
Okay,
wrote
I'm glad TJ says
they
it.
wrote him terribly. His decisions are ridiculous. Um,
Yeah,
they tried to set up a love thing with him and Mickey, it just went nowhere. I mean,
yeah,
she has friendly chemistry with him, but the episode where they try to get something going, it just doesn't work. Um, and then just they do a lot of stupid stuff, and I just like the ideas of the stories are interesting, and I just think the smaller details are where they screwed up, and I think when you screw up the smaller details, that lays heavy on the rest of the um,
yeah,
story or whatever. That it doesn't pan out. But
yeah. And I'm this first episode we're going to talk about. I call it the Brian De Palma episode, and you're going to see why um, when we start talking about, or hopefully you're going to see why. If not, I'll explain it to you. Would you call it a Brian De Palma episode, TJ?
um, I forgot which one is this? The
The mightier than the sword about the cursed fountain pen.
well, what De Palma things do you see?
Well, I see a big thing at the end, like the ending shots.
Ah,
I think that's really when it. I don't. I guess I should rephrase that. The whole episode, I don't think is a Brian De Palma episode, but that ending is clearly inspired by De Palma.
I think it's the best 10 episode out of the two that they had.
Yeah,
This is like one of the better of the last 10.
yeah, yeah. I'll agree with
Mickey gets
that.
a lot to do. Um,
But I thought during every one of these last few episodes that Roby seemed I don't really want to say it was like she was sleepwalking through the episodes, but it seemed like she was depressed in all of them.
I don't know. Maybe
And
because
kind of like she yeah, kind of just like she didn't want to do it anymore, didn't want to do the show anymore. Now
well, John
Jack
left
seemed about
and
the same, but
John left, and there were probably things behind the scenes that were going on. And
I bet.
like you said, it wasn't a full season. They only had
Yeah.
20 episodes, 19 if you count the two-parter, and so there was probably stuff going on behind the scenes that was making them not want to do it anymore.
Yeah. And in all honesty, I think maybe the show should have ended sooner than it did because it seemed like it just limped along for at least the last few episodes.
I think this show would work better nowadays because it would only be 6 episodes.
Yeah. Yeah,
Instead of
exactly.
trying to stretch out because there's like 22 episodes were like the norm back then.
Hmm.
Like I always thought Gilligan's Island was on longer. It was only on for 2 years, but they had so many episodes.
Was it really? I thought it was longer
I think it
too.
was just 2 years.
Wow.
And then they had the TV movies.
Yeah. But this one that we're and there is one episode where there's no cursed antique at all,
Yes.
which was odd because that's what this show pretty much hinged on was getting these cursed antiques back. But this one was directed by Armand Mastriani again, which is probably why it was a little bit better of an episode because he directed it, and I think he did a good job with the episodes. William Fruitt was another person that did a lot of the episodes, and he did a good job as well. But
I'm sorry, there were
um,
3 seasons of Gilligan's Island.
3 seasons.
But they had like 30, 36 episodes, so it's like, that's a lot.
But I'm going to go ahead and let TJ start talking about Mightier Than the Sword, and then I'm going to add some things, and then we're going to move on to the next episode.
So it's our first slasher. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
there have been other. That's another thing. That some of these episodes are sort of repeated stuff they already did. Like, I forget if it's this episode or not, but there's an episode that reminds me of the episode with the guy who could make a double of himself.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's like I watched an episode. And I was like, did they just change the names and actors and just made the same episode again with a different item? But so this is a cursed pen. The title is Mightier Than the Sword. Obviously, that's a reference. Um, it starts off with this guy being killed in the gas chamber. Um, he has no knowledge of his murders that he's committed.
Mm-hmm.
But we have these people outside chanting with made up signs. So it's always it's a spectacle.
Yeah, they're eating hot dogs and drinking beer and yeah, just having a party.
It must have been January 6th. Anyway,
Exactly.
so we find out it's this reporter. This is the episode that's a repeat. So it's the report. This reporter guy is using the cursed pen.
Well, isn't he a novel, or I mean,
That's right.
a true crime writer?
I was thinking of the
Oh,
TV
gotcha.
guy.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he was a novelist who wrote like. Well, we find out later that he wrote like cheap pulp slasher novels,
Mm-hmm.
and then all of a sudden he became famous writing true crime. So we find out that like I said, he there's this guy in the gas chamber and he says he didn't do it. Well, he didn't do it. It's this writer guy. So the pen basically infects you with evil.
Yeah.
Um, and then the guy writes. He'll write the story of and then the people basically do what he writes basically, which is like the other pen episode. And like I said, it's like the newscaster one. I like the episode. This episode sounds like I don't like it, but I did like this episode.
But I do notice they were starting to get repetitive with the themes of the episodes by this
It's like
point.
Scream 6.
Yeah.
It was fine. The movie was fine, but they were just doing shit that they've already done in the Scream series, and whatever. Yeah. So he goes through a couple of different people. So he's basically been making his own slasher killers until he comes to Mickey, because Mickey's sort of finding out what's going on and has penned him. And yeah, okay, I tried.
No, it works. It works, CJ. I promise.
So he makes her into a slasher killer, by infecting her with the pen and writing out what he wants her to do. But unlike the other people, he's taking it slow with her. He's only letting her like taste blood and like cuts. She goes to a bar and picks up a guy.
Yeah.
And then just to cut his hand, because she wants, she likes his writing's very pulpy, trashy novel writing too.
Yeah, very exploitive.
Yeah, that's why he became successful, is because the pen was causing him to become successful. Anyway, he wasn't writing anything great, so I mean, so it turns Mickey into a slasher, and she almost kills Jack, and she almost kills Johnny.
Yeah.
And she really gets into it, and she's got this like quiet scream, which I really like because it's like really disturbing. And I,
It is, but didn't
she's
you
like,
think this?
she's like very.
Didn't you think this was a little bit like the episode where the guy's daughter had that rage that she would get in her and would attack people, and he was trying to make her well, and Mickey got kind of that way in that episode because he was starting to take
Yeah,
her humanity away at that point.
yeah, kind of, but it's more she's in well, even though she's under influence, she's more in control. The girl was just like a rabies, like
Right,
28 days later. Like this is more like Return of the Living Dead
right.
type of character than so like the zombies are more smarter and they're thinking and stuff like that. Um, but this is the first time I think. Um, well, the the person with the cursed item usually gets done in by the item in some way.
Right.
Um, but this one, spoiler, Mickey slashes the hell out of him, and I think that's a great ending for the guy because he deserved it.
Yeah.
Uh, but I also noticed in these 10 episodes that there's a lot of we just get out of here and leave. Like there's no
Yeah.
like she just murdered somebody, and there's a little thing at the end where she's like kind of feeling bad that she killed somebody, but
Mhm.
still like they just kind of. I mean, we don't see the details. We don't see the whole police, because police must come and they have to talk to the police and then like. But I've seen some stuff where they just leave.
Yeah, yeah, basically, and we're getting to. I'm going to let TJ talk about it, but we're getting to the Brian De Palma moment of the episode, or I feel like it's Brian De Palma moment.
Yeah, so it's after the killers after the well he never killed anybody, but after the guy gets killed and they take back the pen and put it in the vault. Um, Jack is comforting Mickey and she's upset at what she did and she ends up trying to kill Jack and then she wakes up screaming, a la Carrie. Uh,
Yeah, and he's even
or
holding her.
Carrie, which is the same thing.
Yeah, and Jack is even comforting her and holding her while she's in the bed, very similar to the end of Carrie, where Sue's mother
Yeah,
is holding her after a nightmare.
it was definitely a reference. I mean,
Yeah, it was too close to those endings for it
yeah.
not to be.
But yeah,
Um,
but she did great, and the story was, even though it was stuff we already seen before, the story was well done. I think so.
I think this one was probably my favorite of these last few episodes, actually. And Calm Fior makes another appearance as the writer in this one, and he was also in um, the what was it? Was it a music box? They called it something else, a symposium or something like that. But
The one with the dancing, that one.
yeah,
Yeah.
he was also in that one, and he plays pretty much a bad guy in both of them because TJ and I have talked about this before that the people that get the cursed objects, it's sad to say, but they're teetering on the edge of being a bad person anyway
Oh
before
wow.
they get that um, before they get the cursed object. So, and he's evidently good at playing bad guys. I don't know if he's ever played a good guy because, of course, on Storm of the Century, he was Lenoge, so he was a definitely a bad guy in that. Um, so, is there anything else you wanted to say about this episode before we move on to the next one, TJ?
No, not really.
Okay. So the next one is Year of the Monkey, and the cursed antique this time around is three monkey statues, kind of like the "Hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil" kind of thing.
Hmm.
And it starts out in what is the year that it actually starts out in? I'm totally forgetting here. Maybe it tells me.
I don't know.
For some reason, I was thinking it was like 1940 something, but I could be wrong. And Johnny in this episode, or at least during part of the episode, he's trying to put the old Ryan charm on the secretary. One scene, it's not really working.
Yeah.
I
Well, he's
think
not a bad actor. It's just they're trying to write him Ryan, and it just doesn't.
it doesn't work. They should have just left that part alone and not tried to, because he's not Ryan. So just make him his own character. Don't try to give Ryan like traits to him.
Tokyo, 1945. That's where it starts.
1945. Okay, I guess I was right on that. So I'm gonna go ahead again and let TJ start talking about this, and then I'll add some things here and there.
Well, it's got samurais, which I like. So
Yeah.
that, I was thinking of the episode of Bob's Burgers where they befriend this guy who's a was an actor in these samurai movies with his daughter, and and they accost him and they're like, "Are you Fujiyama?" And he's like, "Yes, it's me." And they find his old movies and they try to show one at a festival and they realize, oh, we got to find prints. We can't just hook our DVD player up to the. No, that's not how it works, Bob.
Right.
The only thing I thought was a little. There were a bunch of karate chops of people getting knocked out, and I was like, really? I mean, they're all Asian actors, but I'm like, I would have been protesting. I said, are we going to really do karate chops here, guys? Come on. I mean, seriously? I mean, the samurai stuff is cool, but just like to knock, Mickey gets knocked out by a karate chop. I'm like, seriously? Come on. What is this? I'm trying to think of a funny joke, but I can't. Anyway, so it's about this father, and so there's the three cursed monkey statues. He gives each of his three children one of the statues.
Mm-hmm.
And they each have powers, and they're supposed to use them not necessarily for evil, but they end up being greedy and using them. But he's trying to test their not their bravery, but he's trying to find the one child who's going to run his company for the after he dies. And part of the monkeys is the test to see who's worthy of that. And it's got my favorite Tia Carrera's in it from Wayne's World and Zombie Nightmare, the great Zombie Nightmare.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I'd totally forgotten about that one.
And she's in True Lies too, right? Doesn't she try to kill Arnold Schwarzenegger? Yeah, I think she's.
Seems like it, yeah.
Yeah, so the Scooby Gang goes to collect the tea set from this guy Tanaka, and he basically says, "Well, you can't have the tea set, and you're going to help me collect these three figures." He's not the father of the three children, but we find out later that he was in love with with Tanaka's daughter, and I guess they were going to commit, a lover's pact and both die. And I guess he screwed it up and he didn't die, and I guess she did, because I don't really think we really talk about her much in this. But it's just the whole, he.
Yeah, they were going to do a Romeo and Juliet type
Well,
of
he feels guilty, but the father, doesn't even care about him. Sort of like he's gone out of his life, kind of thing. So yeah. Meanwhile, the I guess the stop motion on the monkeys it's kind of weird.
Yeah, I did think it was kind of odd.
The way it moves is kind of weird, and they laugh like hyenas, which I think is kind of.
Yeah, and it seems like something's out of sync with their movements and like the audio and stuff.
I mean, it's creepy. I don't know if it was. It just might be the audio that on the on the on the episode, but yeah. Yeah. So meanwhile, Tanaka, each one of his kids kind of fails, and every time one of them dies, he starts looking younger. So
Hmm.
Tia Carrera is the last one. By the time he comes to Tia Carrera, he looks like he's in his 40s or whatever, and at the beginning he looks like he's like 70 or whatever. Um, she's the last, and she doesn't use the power, and he tells her, "All right, you were the strongest, and what you have to do is kill me, and then you can take over because we're gonna see you have the strength to take over, and that's killing me." And he says something like, and this will give you the courage if you have to kill your own children for because of what he just did. And she's like, no, I don't want this crap, and she she commits seppuku on herself,
Hmm.
um, which is this TikTok you'd have to say she unalived herself.
Yeah.
Even though technically no one really said you had to do that on TikTok, but people came up with it because people have said died on there and they haven't gotten their videos taken down. But I think it's just one of those. The kids started a trend. We're gonna say unalive because we're whatever you millennials. I don't know what the fuck that are anymore. I can't even.
Well, I think it goes back to people, like Jay said, one of the worst offenses you can make or commit is offending somebody. And he says, you'll live another day if
But how does that offend somebody saying died?
I, I don't know how a lot of stuff offends people. It's
I
just
think people
it's
just make shit
bizarre.
up. I don't think it has to do with whether you're trying to be politically correct or not. I think just people just come up with stupid shit and someone catches
Just
on
to
to it.
mess with other
Yeah,
people.
I think that's worse. Stupid
Yeah,
shit
it
is
is.
worse than we got. I call her Lorraine Bobbitt, but that's not her name. Lauren Boebert. She was a
Oh, yeah.
she was at a show. She was at was it Beetlejuice, and she was vaping with her boyfriend or
Uh-huh.
whatever he was, and they were like laughing, but they were like talking and carrying on, not paying attention to when you go to it's one thing to go to the movies, but when you're in a theater with performers, you
Yeah.
shut the fuck up.
I agree. I
You're
agree with
bothering the
that.
audience. You're also bothering the people on stage, and you're
Yep.
screwing up their acting. And like, I want to paying money for a show. I want to watch and hear the show. I don't want to hear some half ass person who thinks she's so great and trying to dress sexy when she's a horrible looking person. Anyway, yeah, vaping, and then she was also I heard she was also recording the show. So she's a thief, and well, she's considered a Republican. Not that they
That
all are,
that says a lot of things right
but
there.
but and then she was like, "I know the mayor, and I'm going to tell him on you." Oh, she's also a Karen, and
Yeah.
she's a Cindy Brady. She's a tattletale. Like, you're gonna call the mayor. Anyway,
She's like the girl on Sleepaway Camp too. I'm gonna tell.
yeah, but
But anyways,
anyway, so where was I? Yeah, Tia Carrere. She'd rather kill herself than become a slave to her dead father or whatever. Um, anyway, all his kids are dead, so he's all young looking. Um, he tries to kill Jack Ryan. Ryan. I keep doing that. He tries to kill Jack, Johnny, and Mickey, but Tanaka saves them. Um, um, so the whole thing is about honor, and Tanaka kills. What the hell's the guy's? I forgot. I don't know what the hell his name was.
are you talking about Musashi?
Yeah, whatever. However you pronounce his name. Is that how you pronounce his name?
I don't know. I mean, I'm just.
I mean, they said it in the episode. um, whatever the credit, I'm going to phonetically read whatever it says. Yeah, Musashi. Musashi saves them by as Tanaka's about to kill or Tanaka's about to stab him with the sword. He drops his sword, and then Tanaka kills him. And
Mhm.
by him not having the sword, he was killing without honor.
Right.
So Musashi basically sacrificed himself to save everybody, to save whoever was left over. And Tanaka goes to hell basically, and with the three monkeys sent him to hell, and they get the monkeys and they throw them in the safe, and that's it.
And here's more incompetence from Johnny, by the way, because there's another antique that's mentioned but not really explored, and that's the tea set.
Well, that's what they went there originally for.
Hmm.
And I think they say something at the end that they were going to go get the tea set from him anyways. So I mean, we just
Well,
don't see it happening. But
the the book explains exactly. It explains it very well. So Johnny promises he'll pick up the tea set from the kendo school tomorrow. And then the author of the book says if Johnny is in charge, there's only about a 40% chance that it will actually make it into the vault. So my guess is the tea set didn't make it into the vault, you know. So
but Mickey and Jack are going to nag his ass until he gets it. So I mean, he's going to have to do it eventually. He can't be that bumbling and get away with it.
and so the author also didn't understand why Musashi wouldn't help with the monkey idols. They wanted, his help, and he wouldn't help.
He was
Uh,
ashamed of what happened when he was younger.
that seems like a very
She says something else from at the end of one of the other um, episodes, and I'm like, "Bitch, were you not watching the episode? Because I knew exactly what was going."
well, she goes on to say he has been shamed, sure, but isn't it more shameful to send strangers to fight your battles?
Not only is that,
I
she,
don't know if they were trying to get that damn deep with this episode, to be honest.
she's going way into the episode. One
Yeah.
episode she doesn't even talk about it. She goes, "I didn't like it because it was about TV, and I don't, and TV's my friend, so I'm not going to even interview anybody about this episode." I'm like, okay, well, you just lapsed on your writing there, lady.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't agree with everything this author says in this book. It's an interesting book, talking about the behind the scenes stuff and things like that. But I'm really interested more in what Roby said, what John LeMay said, what some of the writers and directors and stuff like that said, more so than I am her the author's descriptions or what she liked and didn't like about the episodes, because I thought it was sort of lame and weak.
Well,
Some
she
of the
started telling
questions that,
jokes during talking about the episodes, and she's like, "Well, this must have blah 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 blah." I'm like, "Okay, what are you, Groucho Marx now? You're doing jokes now."
exactly.
She's trying to mystery science theater her writing there, and I'm like, it works sometimes, but it doesn't work all the time. And her publisher should have been like, maybe you should have
Yeah,
done
he should have reeled her in just a tad.
that. Yeah.
Um,
But she did write a book, and I never have, so props to her for writing a book.
that's right.
I got to give people credit for something.
There you go. So this next episode, Epitaph for a Lonely Soul and the Cursed Antique is a Mortician's Aspirator. I actually liked this one. I thought it had that creepy vibe because of course you're dealing with corpses essentially and bringing them back to life.
Yeah.
Um, but some of the ones that get brought back to life don't look too hot. It's the best way I know to describe it. Um, it sort of reminded me one of the dead that comes back to life sort of reminded me of that Tales from the Dark Side episode. I'll give you a million when the one guy comes back and he's like you got to claim my soul, so the devil essentially won't come and take my soul to hell. But how he looked was like his skin was falling off or whatever is the best they could do on television. But some of that stuff reminded me of that episode. Um, so uh, I'm trying to think if anybody of note like that you would remember. Hey, they were in something else. I always try to do that, but I'm not. The
Well,
guy that was the mortician looked familiar, but
the the character Lisa, she was in the second Compact episode. She was the model
oh, that's
that
right.
the main
Okay.
woman was like she was taking over for her kind of thing. She was that,
Hmm.
yeah. She's very pretty, like
Yeah, she's very very attractive.
she's very supermodel.
Yeah, actually, there's a I don't know if you guys and gals can see that very well, but there's a picture of her in the actual casket there.
Yeah, she said during she thought it was she felt weird getting into a coffin. She's like, I hope I don't have to do that again for a long, long time. By the way, the book was written in 2015, so a lot of things she wrote,
Yeah.
um, you got to take with the time it came in.
Mm. So I'm going to turn it over to TJ to start talking about this episode. And because I've been so tired, I'm going to step away and go get a refresher on this Mountain Dew, and I'll be right back.
So it's about so we got this mortician dude. What the hell is his name? No, I just lost the. Sit there as TJ tries to find out what the hell he's doing. You look at the credits and you go, oh, I don't recognize any of these names that fit with the faces because I can't see who the hell they are. Let me look. What the hell is this guy's name? Here we go. Okay, we got this mortician Eli. He's got a fixation with his subjects, I guess you'd say, where he after he's done working, making them over and whatever, he takes pictures of them and puts them in a photo album, which is creepy to begin with. That a mortician is creepy to begin with, but this makes it even worse that he takes pictures of the dead bodies, which is like, okay. I think they did it back in the, was it maybe 1800s, 17, whatever. They used to take photos of dead relatives and like they used to prop up their dead relatives and weird poses and like at their homes and stuff, and then they take pictures of it, and it's like, who'd want a photo of somebody after they're dead? It's just really morbid and weird. I'm sure people do it nowadays. Um, so this guy is grieving over his wife who passed away at 25. She had some kind of, I forget what she had, some kind of cancer or something like that. She had some kind of like stomach cancer, some kind of disease that she died very young. Um, and he's mourning her death. Well, the mortician kind of is fixated on the girl's dead body, but that's weird. Um, he gets some more. So this the guy who drops off the bodies at the morgue has this old. What'd you say? What do you call them again?
What was that, TJ? I'm sorry. I
What do
zoned
you
out
call
for a
the
second.
instrument again?
Ah, yeah.
The aspirator.
Oh,
I can't
crap.
think. Never mind.
Yeah, aspirator. That's it.
Um,
I totally just zoned out there.
yeah, I looked at the book.
Well, that's okay. That's why we have this book, part of the reason.
If anybody doesn't know what an aspirator is, if you've seen Return of the Living Dead, when Ernie is embalming the corpse and he sticks that long um, rod into the guy's stomach, the dead body, that's the aspirator. It's supposed to inject I guess it's supposed to inject embalming fluid into like the like really deep, so it gets into where the organs are and everything in the body. Um, so anyway, yeah, this guy's like, yeah, you want to take it? I think he charges him a couple of bucks or whatever. And he's like, sure, whatever. He's like, oh,
Yeah.
it's a cool antique, and I'm like, yeah, morticians like to collect other morticians' tools. That's really weird. Uh, so he's embalming this young boy, I guess, who was in a very terrible car accident. Like pieces of his skin are kind of falling off, and
Mm-hmm.
I think he stitched him up a little bit. Um, but yeah, so he sticks the aspirator into the guy's stomach, and he brings the guy back to life. Um, he's trying to figure out what to do with the guy. He eventually um, kills him again. So not only does this poor guy die in a terrible accident, he's brought back to life, and then he gets killed again. Like it's like, wow, poor guy.
Yeah, it's almost like a pet cemetery type of scenario. You
Yeah,
bring somebody, or somebody comes back because you bury them in the Micmac Indian burial ground, and then basically you have to kill them again.
sometimes that is better.
That's exactly right.
But if you've seen the trailer for that new Pet Cemetery, nobody
Oh,
has a Maine accent.
holy shit!
Nobody has a Maine accent. They're all in Maine, and nobody has an accent.
And what
That's
is
the
the
only thing
deal?
that annoyed me. Everything else was stupid. But
Okay, what is the deal there with, since TJ brought that up? What is the deal now with those masks, the animal
that's for the
masks or whatever?
remake.
Yeah, I know, but why did that even come into play? I don't know
Because
and
they're
I
all
watched the
connected to the
remake.
remake.
I
The
watched
people
the
who saw the
remake.
remake go, "Oh, I remember those masks." That's
I
what it is.
guess they're just continuing that.
That's why everybody wants Stu back in Scream, is because they like the character and they want to bring him back, even though it's stupid and makes no sense for the movie. And like, think of the new characters anyway. They did 2 seasons of a TV show that wasn't bringing back any of the cast, and that was fine. But the movies
Right.
have to keep like. I know Matthew Lillard needs a few bucks, but I mean, come on. I mean, and besides, whatever.
We can get off on this other.
Writing the damn movie because there's a writer's strike going on, for crying out loud. People are like, there's an official notice that Scream 7 has a director and will be made. Like, wow. Thanks a lot for that information. First of all,
Yeah.
everybody already knew that.
Does anybody care at this point? Like, I'm
People
talking
do.
about,
There's a bunch of TikToks with people
well,
caring about it. I'm sorry, yeah. The kids care. The kids love it. The TikTok.
the kids, yeah, that's the key word, the kids, but not us old school people that were
They're the
watching
ones
Scream.
buying the tickets and going. They're the ones who go into the damn Barbie movie and $300 billion.
Oh, don't get Wes started on that damn Barbie
Well, I
movie.
mean, you can complain about the movies making money in the movie, even if the movies suck, they're still making money. Would you
Yeah,
rather be yelled at because you made a movie that other people hated but made billions of dollars, or would you just rather make a movie that no one ever saw? I mean,
good point. Good point. But can I still refer to the fact that I think the Barbie movie is lame?
of course.
That's all I want to say.
No, I hate the people who watch it and watch it for the irony about not liking it. But I'm like, well, don't spend money to go see it to hate it. Wait for it to show up free on the services you can find online to watch it for free. I would never watch it anyway, so I'm not going to do that. So
Well, I'm not going to watch the Barbie movie. I'm not going to watch that new Exorcist movie, and I'm damn sure not going to watch that new Pet Cemetery.
are you going to watch Thanksgiving?
I might watch that just out of curiosity because it's kind of been a long time coming.
It's been like 15 years or whatever.
Yeah, something like that.
My issue with that is it's not going to be what he would have done back then.
Right.
Because if you watch that original trailer, first of all, it's besides the whole aesthetic of it looking like a grindhouse. The trailer's been shown 100 times, and it's got all scratches and stuff like that. It's of a time. even when the trailer was made, it was a trailer made about like late 70s, early 80s slasher movies. And it was like it was 15 years ago. You can't make the same movie that he would have made 15 years ago.
Right.
Like the trailer's only a teaser, and like it shows like clips of stuff that people who already seen the original trailer would go, "Oh yeah, I remember that." Like it's got the trampoline, but I'm like, he's not going to do that. He's not. I don't see them doing a mainstream movie, even though I think it's going to be digital and in theaters at the same time.
Yeah.
I don't see them doing the scene as it was set up in the original trailer. Now, I don't think it's gonna. He might. I want to, but like, are they gonna really show a girl taking off her underwear and then doing splits on a trampoline, and then a knife comes up, and then as she's doing the split and falling? First of all, they're not gonna show it.
Right.
It'll probably be off screen.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Dirk says, I have to laugh at this. Barbie is shaping the minds of the youth. Of course, he's got the laughing emoji there.
yeah, but Greta Gerwig is gonna have carte blanche to make any movie she wants now.
Basically,
And
yeah.
she's
Yeah.
going to get well, I mean, not right now, but after the strike, she's going to get a lot of, even if she makes even if her next movie sucks,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it doesn't make Barbie money. It's never going to do that. She's not going to get that lucky. But I
I
mean,
wh-
she's all
what
set. If
what
she has a good agent, she's all set.
right. Wes does say I'll never watch the movie, but all I was saying is I wasn't confused as to why it made a flat fortune. Now I'm not really confused. I mean, I may have made it sound that way, but I'm not really confused as to why it made a fortune. I I just wish it had never got to that point is what I wish. But, wishing something and making something true is two different things. So, um just if people will just allow me to bitch and moan about something a little bit, then I'll be okay, and then I'll quiet down about it, and it'll fizzle out, and I won't talk about it anymore till the next thing that comes along for me to bitch and moan about. But anyways,
Well, no, it's hard when you don't understand why something is popular or made money. That's because it doesn't appeal to you. So you're not gonna,
mhm,
no matter what people tell you, you're not gonna like it, and
yes,
nothing
very
wrong
good
with that. I
point.
mean, I've seen a lot of stuff that I like. They're making a sequel to Blood and Honey, and I'm like, the first movie was terrible. I watched the movie at the open after the first 10 minutes. I was like, if Christopher Robin is the final girl, I'm gonna punch somebody. And spoiler, at the end, he's the only survivor. And I was like, I knew it was gonna be dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Did you watch it? I just spoiled it for you.
Oh, no, you're not spoiling anything for me personally, TJ. And Wes says, Dana, you guys are competing with Big Brother tonight. Now, no offense to anybody that likes Big Brother, but I've never seen one episode of that. Not one. I don't even know really what it's about. So I'm totally dumb when it comes
Does
to
he
that. I
watch
hear
it?
people talking about it, but
Does he watch it?
I
Or
I
his
haven't a
wife?
clue. I don't know if he watches it or Sarah watches it or.
First of all, I've seen clips when I was over a friend's house. I've
Mhm.
never watched it, so I mean, is that a show that you have to watch when it's live? I mean, what is it? Julie Chen? Isn't she like the host of like the after show or something like that? Or I'm like,
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't a clue. I can't keep up with stuff anymore just because of how much stuff is out there. Every time Steve goes to lay down in the bedroom, he watches a little TV before he goes to sleep. And it seems like every time I come in there, there's a new show. And I'm like, what is this show? And then the next time I come in there, there'll be another new show. I was like, I don't know how you keep up with all this.
I restarted watching American Dad today,
Did
so
you?
I don't watch new shows. Like I don't know.
I can't just because, I mean, I guess we'll have to wait till the strike is over, but or quite a bit of time maybe after the strike is over to see the final season of Stranger Things. But I'll more than likely watch that. But
Yeah, like I don't know. I like some shows I'll watch. Like I said, I watch Bob's Burgers.
mm,
Um, I like that show, Abbott Elementary. I like that show. Uh, yeah, I watch a lot of cartoons for some reason.
Well, nothing wrong with that. I like my fair share of cartoons. I caught Steve watching an episode of South Park tonight, and I said, "Is that a new episode of South Park?" And he said, "I don't know."
They just started Lower Decks, which is it's a cartoon but a Star Trek show, which it's
Hmm.
actually pretty good. They actually had a live action version of a couple of the characters on one of the other Star Trek series, which I thought was cool. Um, Jack Quaid was one of them. He does one of the voices, and he also did the live version. You know, Jack Quaid from The Boys and Scream 5. I mean, you know, I'm sorry he was in that, but that's the one everybody was like, I knew he was the killer. Yeah, okay, sure. No, you thought since he was the only new character, like, oh, actually no, there were a bunch of people were just yeah. Anyway, never mind. Jenny
uh,
Ortega should have been the killer in that movie. She should have been the killer in Part 5. That would have been the best thing to do. Um, anyway, let's back to this episode.
yeah, we'll get back to TJ. Did you finish up the aspirator episode
Yeah,
epitaph for?
he re-kills the kid, the
Hmm.
biker kid. Um, then he brings back the hot girl. Um,
That's right.
and she has no memory of being alive at first. So he says, "Oh, you're my wife, and you know, you live here, and blah blah blah." Meanwhile, her her husband, who was hanging around earlier, kind of befriends Mickey,
Hmm.
um, and you're like, "Hey, his wife just died." No, but she's not. He's not hitting on her. They're just sort of like it's like a friendly thing between them. Um, but he sees the kid get re-killed and brought, you know, after he brought back to life and gets re-killed. He witnesses all of that, and he goes to Mickey and the gang, and they don't believe him. And I'm like, we're on the third season of a show where cursed items, all this supernatural shit happens. There are werewolves and vampires. Mickey was a witch for an episode, but they
Yep.
don't believe he saw somebody come back to life. What?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. No.
Except for that really annoyed me. This made me not like the episode, even though I liked the episode. That part of it, I'm like, they're not listening to him and they don't believe him. I'm like, that makes no sense. It's just stupid. It's just like, it's not even like movie logic where you're doing something that makes no sense, but it just like makes no sense with the characters. These aren't new people that just showed up. These are characters who've been going through this every episode. It's like it makes no
Hmm.
sense. Um, so yeah, um, Mickey ends up getting kidnapped, as per usual, because he has to kill somebody. It's another thing. It's a trade off thing too. You bring somebody back to life, and then someone else has to die, and then somebody else has to bring back someone, and then somebody else has to die. It goes back and forth.
Right.
Though he spends a lot of time with this one girl, um, until she starts getting her memory back, and then she sees her husband. She's like, "Was that Block? Was that what's his name?" And yeah, no, poor Mickey. She's all sexy and hot, and then and then she ends up getting kidnapped all the time. Anyway, so yeah, he ends up trying to save his girlfriend he breaks into the mortician's house and tries to rescue her. He ends up getting killed in the process. Not only killed, but the mortician takes him down to the what do you call it? I know the word. Don't tell me. The the place where they burn the bodies. What the hell's that called?
The crematorium?
The crematorium. That's it.
Yeah.
I just watched Return of the Living Dead earlier. You think I would remember the crematorium?
Well, I just watched Night of the Demons again
Oh,
through on the Joe Bob's drive-in
Roger,
jamboree.
it's a crematorium. Roger. Anyway, I think I can do her voice, but I can only do her saying Roger. Anyway,
You do a good job of that, though, TJ.
yeah, I'm, I have to grab my anyway. It's to do
It
that.
sounds like Kathy Powell.
Thank you.
You don't sound like Kathy Powell all the time, only when you were doing that.
Unless she's from Boston, then I do sound like her. Anyway, yeah, he gets up. Yeah, he gets burnt up. We don't see him get burnt up. We just see like the fire, and she's like, "What happened to?" And then she looks at the. She's like, "What happened to my boyfriend?" And then she looks at the thing, and she's like, "You son of a bitch! You just." And it's like, I think that's a terrible way to go. Like, I hope he was already dead, because
Yeah,
if he went in there alive, yeah, that's not that's not good. You ever seen the movie Blue Sunshine? There's three girls that
yeah,
get shoved into a fireplace at the beginning of the episode, and I always
yeah.
thought that was the creepiest thing. Like,
That whole movie is creepy. Like especially the girl that when they start to go crazy, they lose their hair. And
yeah,
that woman that's babysitting those two kids, when she goes completely bald and
yeah.
her eyes and everything, oh my God.
If you
Yeah.
don't like kids in danger movies, don't watch that movie.
Yeah, you don't want to watch that.
But I mean, the kids look like they're laughing through the whole thing, so they knew.
They did.
But it's still disturbing seeing a little kid being chased after by a bald woman with a
Yeah.
knife.
Yeah.
Uh, she didn't have eyebrows either. That's like
Yeah.
what is
No,
going
it's
on? It's like so weird.
it's like
Anyway,
somebody just wiped her eyebrows off.
the only part of that movie it's weird is when they always have an obvious wig on.
Yeah.
Because you'll see them in one scene, they have normal hair, and then the next scene where they're supposed to go bald and take their whole hair off, it's a wig. I mean, it's so
Yep.
bad. Anyway, yeah, what was his name? Dan? Steve? I can't remember what his name was. Was it Steve? No, it wasn't Steve. I can't remember the guy's name. Anyway, so anyway, the girl Lisa, she's like, "Oh, you killed my boyfriend," blah blah blah.
Uh-huh.
So he realizes that she's not the one for him because she remembers who he is, or at least remembers who she was. So he brings back another dead body because he thinks if you're dead longer, you won't get your memory back like she did because she's like more of a recently deceased. Um, so does he dig up her grave? I can't remember, or was she still in the mortuary? No, he dug up her dead body
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
because I think Johnny finds him and then gets knocked into the grave. That's what
Mm-hmm.
happens. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so there's that part's kind of creepy. Just the idea of getting knocked into an open grave, and then being, you know,
I don't know. I would always be afraid that something would happen where I'd get covered over, and that's like with dirt because that scene in Kill Bill Volume 2, where she's essentially all that kills me. It was hard to even watch that in the movie theater because it was really dark because she's in that wooden box and then they've covered her over with dirt. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm so claustrophobic that just about got me.
yeah, Kill Bill is disturbing. That whole. Oh, even the movie you hate, that scene with the grave, that's kind of creepy. I don't know
Hmm.
if you'd ever admit that or not because you hate the movie, but you
Well,
know,
no, anything like that, even if it is a movie I hate, I'll admit anything with that sort of scene in it is creepy. I
I mean,
mean,
she's got the plastic bag over her face, and
yeah.
she's like, it's like her face is kind of smashed in, and just she looks deformed, and
Mhm.
she's already deformed in the movie, but then she starts getting the dirt, and she starts like hyperventilating and stuff like that, and it's just like
Yeah.
ooh, that's terrible. Anyway, yeah, like I said, Mickey tries to save Lisa, but she ends up getting kidnapped too, and the guy brings back this other dead body. Um, um, that he has. Then Jack breaks in, and the mortician starts fighting with Jack. Meanwhile, Mickey is trying to get the new corpse lady to try to remember who she was, so she's saying her name a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, I just burped. she's
That's
she's saying
okay.
her name, and she's like, "Help us! You want to help us? Please help us!" And um, uh, Mickey sort of comes to the Mickey she grabs a scalpel from the table and trying to she starts trying to cut the thing, and like she's trying to do one of these things with her fingers with the and it's like she ain't gonna get out of that. But you want her to because it's Mickey. Um, anyway, Big Bam Boom, the mortician gets Mickey gets some like formaldehyde and throws it on him, kind of like in Elm Street where Nancy throws the
Mm-hmm.
kerosene on Freddy. He
Yeah.
gets she seems I don't think she seems gleeful, but she seems like happy to light the guy on fire. Uh,
That's a great, I will say that's a great fire scene towards the end of the episode.
I think in the book the writer she's like she interviewed somebody and they said the stunt guy really liked getting lit on fire, and I was like, okay.
Well, I don't know about that. I don't think I'd like being lit on fire, but
I'm thinking of the Kane Hodder documentary where he talks about how he was in, how he got burnt.
yeah.
And I was like, oh,
That's a great documentary, but I have a whole new respect for Kane Hodder after watching that.
I think when the documentary was first out, I was at a convention and he was showing part of it. And we
Hmm.
were getting right to the part where he's starting crying because he was remembering stuff like that. And
They
it's like,
had to even stop. There's one at one point in it where he says something to the effect of, "Can we stop for a second, or I just need a minute?"
meanwhile, he's like, he got right back on the horse. He was doing fire stuff. I think
Yeah.
he got lit on fire a couple of times in the Adam Green movies, the Hatchet movies, and everything. So
Yeah, I think if that happened to me, or my skin was burnt skin was actually falling off, I don't think I'd ever want to be lit on fire again.
I got stung by a bee once. After that, I never would go near a beehive.
Right.
No. If I see a bee, I walk very fast away. Oh, by the way, this is so the mortician took over the mortician's. So the guy who owned the aspirator was the previous guy who owned the aspirator was a mortician named Morton,
Yeah,
which I thought was hilarious because Mort is death.
right.
So his name was a mortician named Morton. It's just like
Mhm.
it also reminds me of the Mr. Morton song. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, everything's on fire. Lisa and the other woman are on the other side of the flames, holding each other. And Mickey's like, "Oh, we gotta save them," and Jack's like, "No, it's too late for them." But watching it, it looks like they literally like just stayed there to die because they were already dead. That's what I got from the episode because you see them like they could have gotten through the fire
Mhm.
to the limit to the wall. That's a song anyway, by Shaka Khan. Anyway,
There you
um,
go.
that was an '80s song. Anyway, it looks like they didn't want to live anymore, so
Mhm.
they killed themselves basically, which I
Yeah.
thought was a very like it's tragic,
Another like
poetic
Romeo
and
and
tragic.
Juliet thing,
Yeah,
sort of.
it's a very poetic and tragic kind of ending. Like Lisa's like she just saw her husband murdered, basically more or less, and she's a living corpse, and like would you really want to? Even though she looks fine, the other girl looked terrible because she had the hazy eyes and her skin was like almost falling off, and it's a, so you're like, yeah, I can see why one of you wanted to die, but the hot one could have lived. But anyway, so at the end, uh, we get Jack and Mickey at the grave
Mhm.
of of, of Lisa, I'm like, what about the grave of the other guy? I guess
Yeah,
he.
I know. They were just standing there, just talking away, and then Mickey leaves the ring there. I'm guessing was that an engagement ring or wedding ring or
Yeah, he had the husband had found the ring, found the engagement ring when he was at the mortician's place or whatever, and and Mickey ended up. Um, I forget how she got it from him, but I think he maybe she found. I can't remember if she found it or he gave it to her. One of those things. But yeah, she didn't. But she didn't bury it. She just put it on top. Somebody was gonna steal that. Like it was
yeah, I know it was just
engaged, she
there.
put the ring and the flowers, and I'm like, girl, someone's gonna steal that. Why did you leave that there?
Yeah, that was an odd choice for her to do
Oh,
that.
I just realized. No why the gravestone was probably there because the girl was already dead, so the gravestone was probably already on order.
Yeah, right.
And even if they buried the other guy, they would have been a while before his family or whatever. Because it takes a while. I know when my mother passed away that they don't just automatically give you a gravestone. It takes like a
Yeah,
month or two before.
yeah, it does. The I remember when my granddaddy passed away. It took a while to get the I don't know gravestone, headstone, whatever you want to
Yeah.
call it. But I wanted to bring up something I saw in the book that I thought was interesting. So they were talking about how great that aspirator prop was, and that originally they had it rigged to simulate penetration, and so that it was spring loaded, like a spring loaded knife. And
Yeah.
so he could really plunge it in the corpse, and the illusion originally was pretty convincing and utterly gross. So their episode, though, was recalled by the sponsor, who was a car manufacturer, who insisted that we excise about 10 frames from this effect. And the author says, I thought that was, or maybe it was the writer of the episode said, I thought that was pretty sensational having my episode censored. But
Yeah. What
yeah,
company's got that?
right. Um, but yeah, I liked this episode. This was one of the better episodes,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking that Johnny wasn't quite in it as much as he could have been, and maybe that's why it was a better episode.
Maybe.
But that poor guy, I hope he never stumbles across these and says, "Oh, hey, they're
He
talking
keeps
about."
saying that he hasn't yet, so it's.
Because I wouldn't really want to hurt somebody's feelings. And then keep in mind, this is only my opinion,
Mhm.
of this stuff. So the next episode is Midnight Riders. This is the episode where there is no cursed antique.
No,
Um, and it starts out with Jack taking Mickey and Johnny out in the country to watch something called a planetary convergence,
that's when all the planets are lined up and you can see them all.
which has that happened in any of our lifetimes, like those of us that are here? Because I've never remember hearing about that. I wonder how often that happens.
I think Jack says something
He
like it.
says in 72. I didn't know if that was based on real stuff or not.
I do not know. Well, if it was 72 and then the show was in 90, I'm sure it's happens more than. It's not like every 100 years or something. It's like it must be more. I don't know. Interesting.
So,
Anyway,
something else that happens in this, then I'm going to turn it over to TJ to talk about,
sure.
is Jack's father shows up in this.
Surprise.
And I had to run it back just to make sure I heard him right when he called him dad. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, that's Jack's dad? Um, so I think this was probably because there was really no cursed antique, that this was more of a nostalgia episode, something to make people take them back to a certain point in time or make them think about certain nostalgic things. And I thought it was interesting that they did that, but still weird at the same time because this show hinged on cursed antiques. And yet there was not. Was this the only episode where there wasn't a cursed antique, TJ?
I mean, if you count the globe episode.
Oh, yeah, the snow globe episode. Yeah, that would have been another one. And that one was kind of a nostalgic episode, only the people that came back in everybody's lives were not quite what they remembered them to be from the past.
Yeah.
The only one was the one that knew Ryan, um, that had really a conscience, I guess, at this point, because she didn't
Yeah.
really want to go through the whole thing. But anyway, back to this episode. I'm gonna turn it over to TJ to talk about this a little bit.
So this was the 13th episode, The Fog, by John Carpenter,
Yeah.
which is basically the story. That's
Yep.
the story in this. These
Yep.
these so the story is these bikers came to this town. They started causing a little trouble. Some people lied. They were killed. They were hit. The killing was hidden from the world. Only some people in the town knew about it. And then years later, they come back from the grave for revenge, which is the fog. And this is a seaside town. Actually, it wasn't a seaside town, but it seems like it is because there's fog all over the place, and we
Yeah.
know Antonio Bay. But this is basically the fog, but with
Uh-huh.
motorcyclists. So
Right.
we got a biker gang instead of lepers on a boat.
Yeah.
We're going
Essentially,
fishing
yeah.
because Jack's dad is a fisherman.
Yeah.
Jack hasn't heard from his dad for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's just a coincidence. They just happen to be at this place where not only were they looking at the stars, but Jack's father comes back, and this town has a curse on it. So
Mm-hmm.
how lucky can you be?
Yeah, very John Carpenter inspired there.
Yeah. Even the fisherman looks like the dude who's telling the story at the beginning of the
Oh,
film.
John Houseman's
Yeah.
character. Mm-hmm.
Or Buck Flowers.
Or maybe a cross between the two.
Yes, he's like if the two of them had a baby.
They
John
had a
Houseman,
love child. That would be this guy.
who looks older than all of them. Like Jack's dad looks very old. He almost looks like a corpse. He looks so old. He looks so old. Anyway, then there's these two kids. What do we find out about them? So there's these two lovers,
Yep.
and these two young this young girl, this young boy, who the mother doesn't want them together. So it's very Romeo and Juliet, sort of.
Yeah, there's a lot of episodes that have this theme to them.
Well, it's the thing, love stories and tragic love stories are the best because it's a horror movie. You're not gonna have a happy love story. This
Right.
isn't Mystic Pizza where everybody has a fun relationship.
That's right.
Where what's her face gets mad, where what's her face gets married, and
Yeah.
oh, by the way, you should look up. There was like about it was like a anniversary, maybe the 10-year anniversary or something like that. But it was like a few years ago, or maybe not 10 years ago. But it had the 6 of the cast members.
Oh, I think I saw part of that. Yeah.
It was from like 8 years ago, 10 years ago, something like that. But,
Uh-huh.
yeah, it had the 3 girls and the 3 boys.
Yep.
Yeah. Which I was like, oh, they actually got Julia Roberts, but that was like 10 years ago. Back then, she
Yeah,
was like,
they probably wouldn't get her now.
yeah, no. She's like, Lily Taylor, I'm more famous than you are. Out of the three, I think Lily Taylor is the best actress out of them all.
Lily Taylor is a very, very good actress. I just, but I love Annabeth Gish, and
She's good.
I have a soft spot for Julia Roberts. I mean, I don't know why. I don't know if it's the pretty woman syndrome or what it is.
She has a good. Well, her personality on film. People don't like her in real life, but her personality on film, I think, is she's usually like a upbeat, kind of bubbly character. So I think
Yeah.
that's like except what's the one where she's working for the lawyers? What was that one?
Oh, was it Pelican Brief or was it one?
Um,
No, shoot, I can't remember.
the one's based on a true story. What the hell was that movie? Blissful would know, but she's not talking. Uh, I don't know if she would know.
Well, Blissful's last message at 9:10 said, "Yeah, my mind went south. Thanks, Dana."
What was the movie? I can't remember the movie. They called breasts Ed. Erin Brockovich, thank you. See, I knew she would know.
Oh, that one. Okay, yeah, I can't believe I forgot that movie.
But yeah, she's good at that. That's like one of the movies where she's like a character. Most of them, she's Julia Roberts. Like, but I think she was really good in that one. Anyway, um, so they got these two kids get kind of roughed up by these bikers who we find out are dead,
Yeah.
and they're on revenge of revenge on the town for killing them basically. Um, and they get to a point where they have control over the town, like they have the town blocked off so no one can leave.
Mhm.
They've like turned off all the they I don't know if they cut the power at the power station or whatever, but
And they lose power on the fog too, don't they? If I'm remembering right.
yeah, because the fog. Well, yeah, the fog goes like there's a scene where you see the fog go into the gears and it like
Yeah.
it stops like the lighthouse, I think, and other I think when yeah, a couple other scenes too.
I think this has a little taste of sometimes they come back in it too.
Yeah,
Just
which
a
was
little
also
bit.
the fog.
It's
Stephen King,
got more of the fog, but a
yeah,
little bit of
a revenge
something.
when
Yeah.
people come back from the dead. Though these people were wronged. Sometimes they come back where they were just evil people that should have. In the
They were.
story, they deserve to die. I won't say anybody in real life should deserve to die, but like in the movie, the characters they deserved it anyway. Um, and so they're killing the people who were involved with their um, with their dying. The sheriff, who was a young sheriff at the time, or a young deputy at the time, he was hiding some of the evidence, so they kill him. They kill a priest who was one of the. So there was a priest. Right. So there was back in 20 years ago. There was a young girl and a guy. They were kind of roughed up by the bikers. Um,
Mhm.
the girl had been having sex with the dude, but trying to save her reputation. She was pregnant, so to save her reputation, she said she was raped by the bikers. So they both lied.
Yeah.
So the bikers were killed because the town didn't want revenge against them for something they didn't do. And like the head of the biker gang, they ended up like beheading him. Very. Also, we have a little bit of Ichabod Crane, the headless horseman, thrown in there.
Mhm.
We have which I thought was a cool effect. We got the biker without the head, and then he ends up putting his head back on, which I thought was kind of a cool. Um, yeah. So they took from a lot of things for this episode, that's for sure. But then, if you ask, because I'm a writer, there are no new ideas. You have to be able to spin an old idea
Uh-huh.
into something that seems like it's more original. But like Jay did with Dawn.
Yeah,
That kind of
exactly.
thing. Props to Jay. I wish I could afford to go to Chicago to see my short, but anyway, because I have a short that's going to be in Chicago. Anyway, okay. Anyway, back to the after that. We get and I like
We
Jack.
need a GoFundMe for that, by the way,
Yeah,
TJ.
really.
If you can get a GoFundMe for Uncle Bill to get a new computer, then we can do a GoFundMe.
You didn't donate to Uncle Bill's fund, so you shouldn't say it.
Well, He can call me out on it later. He's not in here defending his honor, is he?
Anyway, and we get Jack's dad before we know he's his dad. We get him as sort of the doomsayer, where he's like he meets up with the uh, sheriff, and he's like, they're come back to get revenge, and you know why, and you know, which I think the guy who plays him really work. Like he's very creepy and then when you find out he's Jack's dad, he gets less creepy, but he's still creepy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because he's just like when he's telling the woman that she's got to tell the truth and she can't keep secrets anymore.
Yeah.
It's kind of creepy.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so the bikers are killing everybody. They kill the priest, who was the young guy. Like that's where I got off on the tangent. The young guy who um, was one of the people, and we find out, and he's the priest is also the dad of the two kids who at the beginning of the episode were having sex on the bluffs or whatever they call it back then. No, this isn't My Bloody Valentine. I just said the bluff.
But it is a Canadian show, so
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, sure. Oh, there's an episode with Lori Hallier coming up.
that's right. Yeah,
Um,
she
anyway,
was in another episode too. It was the oh shoot, which one was it now? The one where the oh, it was the Voodoo Mamba episode or Voodoo Mambo.
right, okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so yeah, the priest gets killed. Next up, the mother of the girl who was trying to keep the couple apart. But before she dies, we find out. Um, so the girl didn't know who her father was. We find out her father was the priest. So
Mm-hmm.
her and the other dude are brother and sister, half brother and sister. And if we pay attention to the episode, they don't say it specifically, but we know when teenagers are hooking, well, I just said it, are getting together behind their parents' back, you know they're having sex. So it's implicated that the brother and sister had sex.
Which is,
Very disturbing
yeah,
addition to
to
this.
say the least.
Yeah. Um, they at least made out, which is even if they made out, that's still gross. Anyway, I like what the dialogue when the bikers are sort of hanging out together, and one of them is like, "I miss being alive," or something like that. I just thought that was a kind of a funny thing to add into the episode because it's sort of not a light moment, but it's sort of a joke. Anyway, the mother. So they're about to try to get away after the mother makes her big reveal, and they
Hmm.
try to kind of get together and leave. The mother goes upstairs to get a jacket. As soon as she said that, I was like, "Oh shit, she's dead." So the mother goes upstairs to get a jacket. She gets attacked. One of the bikers like chains her in the head or whatever, and she gets like, I guess she gets mortally wounded. Um, she gets a little goodbye with her daughter before she dies, like kind of a "I love you, mom," and I forget if she says "I'm sorry for lying to you" or something like that. But she like smiles at her daughter before she dies, with her big bloody with the blood pooling down her face, which I thought that's a good shot. Um, and we find out we have to have the you know the bones have to be on hallowed ground. Very Dream Warriors. Um, uh, so Jack and the dad go to put I forget what they call the head of the biker gang. He had like some kind of he was the shark or something like that. Or was it the shark
Yeah, maybe.
or the dragon? Okay, same thing.
That's right. Yeah.
The head was yeah, the dragon. Um, someone is looking at something. Oh yeah. So the kid who played like the one who played the kid, he was in the Vanity Mirror episode. He was he the yeah, he was the guy, the boyfriend of the girl when he ended up
Yeah.
getting killed. He was in that episode. Um, I mean, technically, you could say he was in the other episode too because there was flashback. Um,
Yep. That's right.
he'd be getting 2 cents in the residuals if that show was still on the.
Right. Russell, in answer to your question, you say a Canadian show. I missed it. Well, actually, all the episodes of Friday 13th, the series, were Canadian shows. It was Canadian production all the way, evidently.
I think it was Canadian American. They were like, but it was filmed in Canada. But
Right, right.
because Mancuso was in America.
Yeah, that's
They
right.
were. It's weird when Canada is like a street over from New York, and it's
Yeah,
another country.
yep, exactly.
Well, that's like if you go to Europe, a lot of the countries are like it's like a 2 hour drive to get to certain places. Like here,
Hmm.
you know, like I live in Boston. Like Connecticut is like a few hours away. Maine is a few hours away. Whatever. Anyway,
Have you ever been to Maine, TJ? By the way,
I have not for too long though.
did you go? Did you go visit any of the Stephen King
No,
books?
no, it was for a very specific. I
Uh,
went for a wedding, so I went to right to the hotel and
oh, I
the
see.
general area where
A
the.
lot of people have weddings there in Maine.
Oh, it was nice. It was supposed to be an outdoor wedding, but it rained that day, so we ended up having to be indoors. But it was like view of a mountain, rain. It was like supposed to be this beautiful, because the the bride wanted the big backdrop. Like, sorry, you had
Yeah, sorry, can't have it.
they got to take photos out there, but they couldn't have the actual ceremony out there. But anyway,
Right.
yeah, I always wanted to see because Stephen King's house has the big giant fence with
Yeah,
the gargoyles and
that
everything.
wrought iron fence
Well,
and
I mean, when a stalker tries to get you, you put up a giant fence.
yeah, I've heard some of those incidents, and I don't blame Stephen King at all. But that is one of the big things that people like to see. But the sad thing is, Stephen King spends a lot of his time down in Florida now.
He's old.
But he's old and he's got to go down to Florida. And actually, some of his later books in the last few years have taken place in Florida
Yeah,
because you write what you know about, right?
yeah. Though I mean, I think he spent enough time in Maine, he could still write stories that center in Maine. But anyway, yeah. So they end up, yeah, they're gonna bury the body on hollow ground. But Jack's dad says, "I can't go with you because I haven't earned the right to be on hollow ground yet." Because we find out he died 10 years ago. That's why Jack hasn't heard from him.
Yeah.
So he died ironically because he was a sailor, ship. I don't know if he had what kind of boat he had, if he worked on a schooner, for fish and stuff like that. But yeah, that's why Jack hasn't heard from him from 10 years is because he died, and he came back on this day because everybody else was coming back to life. So yeah, so he ends up disappearing. Um, the two kids survive. Their parents are now dead. I hope they have some aunts and uncles to go move in with.
Hmm.
I don't know if they're gonna move in together because they're brother and sister. They just aren't allowed to
That
sleep.
just kind of like I almost wonder why did you have to put that in this episode? Just couldn't you make them not blood? You know,
No,
I guess they
because it'd
couldn't.
be less dramatic.
It just I don't know. That just is so cringy. Just the thought of that.
Eh, well, yeah. Anyway, yeah. So had some. I like the zombie effects.
Hmm.
It's only on that one guy. The rest of them don't look like zombies.
Right.
I like even though we didn't get much of Jack's father, I like the actor, and him and
Mhm.
Jack had a nice rapport together.
Yeah, there was good chemistry uh, between them.
But never go up to get your jacket alone in a horror movie.
That's right. And don't, one thing Scream has taught us, don't ever say that you'll be right back either
Yeah,
if you go to do something. But
because every time someone says that, I'm like, do you know what movie? Do you know you're in a movie?
um, so anything else you want to bring up about that episode? I like this episode too, even though it didn't have a cursed antique.
Yeah.
Um, but like we were saying earlier, or like TJ brought up, the snow globe episode was pretty decent, and it didn't have a cursed antique per se either.
Oh,
Um,
by the way, the moral of this episode was don't judge a book by its cover, because the town
exactly.
thought the bikers were evil. They
Hmm.
weren't. Because the Jack's dad actually beheaded the dragon. He's the one that killed the dragon, because the dragon, after the rest of his gang were killed, he tried to escape, and Jack's dad thought he was evil and chopped his head off.
Hmm.
Because 10 years later he died, or 20, or yeah, 10 years later he died. So yeah, so that's it. Yeah.
So the next one is Repetition, and it's another one directed by William Fruitt. I believe William Fruitt was the one. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, TJ. But
Sure.
wasn't he the one that they said had directed the most episodes of Friday 13th, the series?
Sounds right.
Okay. So the cursed antique in question is a cameo necklace. Um, and I hate to step away again, but I've got to run to the restroom. Too much caffeine from the Mountain Dews. But TJ, I'm sure will keep y'all entertained until I can get back.
I'm gonna do a dance. Oh, apropos of nothing, this is a poster to my short. So just happened to be wearing the shirt. Anyway, let's see. Repetition. I actually don't remember watching this episode ever. Like, even watching it, I was like, did I ever watch this? I know I watched every episode of Friday the 13th the series, but I don't actually remember watching this episode. Um, so it's not a repeat for me. Now that I like it, I mean, so we got this. We got this guy who he he hates his life. He hates his mother. Um, he accidentally kills this little girl with his car. Um, he covers up her death. Um, we actually see him pick her up and like take her away, which I was like, wow, they actually showed her. Her little dog tries to come and help her, but the dog is not helpful at all. He's no Lassie. He goes home to the mother, but he's a dog. He can't go. Hey, little girl was just killed. Um, so they never find the little girl. Um, so I guess some time goes by. He's now a drunk. His mother is on her deathbed, so he's taking care of her. Um, he's got sort of a leave of absence from work. Um, I guess he's not fired, but Yeah. So he goes to his local church and tells the priest what happened. Um, of course, the priest can't tell. He murdered a little kid, but the priest can't tell because uh, Jesus said, "Don't tell on people after they tell you that they murdered somebody. Jesus protects you." I'm like, Jesus was alive. He'd say, "Well, the priest says you should turn yourself in," but I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I, I don't get that because somebody wrote, a bunch of people wrote a book, and that means you can't. If you say something to a priest, he can't tell the cops. That makes no sense. Anyway, I just ruined everybody's religion, but so I said that. Yeah, we won't even talk about how Adam and Eve were the first people, and then how did the rest of the people on the planet come about? Uh, Adam and Eve's sons and daughters had sex. Anyway,
I go away and I come back and TJ's talking about this stuff.
you should edit that out. Anyway,
Nah, I won't worry about it.
we get the Republicans boycotting it. Well, the
Oh.
evangelical Christians.
Well, all I'll say is I think the Republicans are the least of my worries tonight.
Anyway, so yeah, so that's going on. We got missing poster. You know, where's this little girl? We don't know. Um, um, Mickey's friend comes by, and I was like, oh shit, is she gonna die? Whenever they
Yeah,
have a,
because that's what always happens.
yeah, whenever they have a friend, I'm like, why are you introducing us to characters we're gonna like? I'm gonna keep bringing it up screen, but like they introduce new characters, you know they're all gonna die, and it's gonna be
Right.
the main three people are gonna live. So I mean, Jesus Christ. So that's why I like at least most of those movies. Like I hate the characters. But anyway, I think what his friend or her friend works for a um, like a shelter or something like that for homeless people or something like that, right? Isn't that what it
Mm,
is?
seems like it.
Mm-hmm.
You know something I noticed that usually the author goes on for several pages about each one of the episodes, and this was really short. The chapter for this one was just super short.
Yeah. Well, there's one where she only writes 3 sentences. This one she at least wrote a paragraph. But oh, by the way, the cursed antique is a cameo necklace. Um,
Mhm.
so when he killed the little girl, her soul went into the pendant,
Right.
and um, now the silhouette on the it's like one of those silhouette pendant, you know, the old time
Right.
silhouettes. The silhouette um, is a distorted soul of the person who was killed, and it tells you you have to kill somebody to replace me. So it's one of those we've had a bunch of episodes where it's a replacement type of thing.
Yeah, a lot of the cursed antiques are like that.
Yeah, um, I think when Uncle Lewis got to like the 800th item, he just started repeating curses. So it's like,
I think so, yeah.
Satan. I mean, come on. Satan's a slave driver, by the way. Anyway, it's a terrible guy to work for. You don't get proper benefits. Anyway,
Yeah, no health insurance and you work like a dog and
yeah.
yeah.
Um, only get that 2% raise increase every year. Anyway,
And the heat. Talk about the heat.
yeah. Okay, yeah. Her friend Anne runs a homeless shelter, or is a part of a homeless shelter. That's Mickey's friend.
Mhm.
Um, and actually, Mickey is nobody's. There's nobody in this. Mickey is barely in it, but
Yeah.
there's no Jack. There's no Johnny. It's just basically the one dude and Amy shows up. Know what it feels like? It feels like a backdoor pilot.
Yeah.
That's when you have an episode where you like the characters sort of introduce a bunch of new characters who are just there for a
Mhm.
pilot for an episode of a TV show.
The writer of the book mentions that too, that they're Jack
Okay.
and Johnny don't appear at all,
Yeah,
and Mickey is only in a handful of scenes
yeah.
or a few minutes of screen time, rather.
But I'm like, what would it have been? It obviously wasn't, but I was like, what would it have been about? It's like the woman who runs the homeless shelter. People, is it like Columbo, where someone comes into the homeless shelter, gets murdered, and we're gonna find out who killed the person? I mean, the actress was fine, but I'm like, I don't think she can do a full season of a show.
And
Anyway,
something else they brought up I just wanted to talk about real quick is the fact that Walter, like the main character in this,
yeah,
he's not a straight ahead bad guy like a lot of the people that get the cursed antiques.
yeah.
Um, and he wasn't driving drunk or otherwise intoxicated when he hit the little girl, and so that was considered quite a bit different than some of the other episodes.
He becomes a drunk after he kills a little girl,
Yeah,
which is how
exactly.
it's supposed to happen.
Yeah,
Don't kill little girls, but yeah, that's
that's the big moral. Don't kill little girls.
yeah. Wasn't that a song in Annie? Don't kill little girls. I don't know.
I don't know.
Even though she wanted to. Anyway, so he decides, okay, I'm gonna kill my mother, who's dying anyways. His logic is that his mother is already dying, so he's gonna exchange her soul for the little girl in the pendant.
Hmm.
Which is what he does. He brings her to the place where the little girl died. Um, and he her little shadow is talking. Yeah, I forget the dialogue, but it's like, I'm surprised she didn't go, help me, like the
Like on the old Fly movie.
anyway, he kills her, and then the little girl come back to life. She sort of Samara from the Ring climbs out of like a
Hmm.
out of the water or out of wherever he dumped the body, I guess. Um,
Yeah.
which I guess it's not one of those curses where like they come back to life while they're buried or something like that. Like in City of the Living Dead, with the Catriona McCall comes back to life while she's buried. That could have went
Yeah.
so wrong.
That's a scene that gets to me now too.
Yeah. So he kills his mother, but then of course um, she's now independent and she wants him to kill someone else. Um, he picks up a guy at the homeless shelter. Sort of a. I think the guy just had some kind of maybe. Was he drunk or did he have like psychological issues? I can't remember if that was the
It
case.
may have been psychological issues. I
I think
mean, I'm not saying alcohol couldn't have been involved as well,
yeah,
but
because he picked him for some reason. I can't remember what the reason was that he picked the guy. Um, anyway, we got the Amy. She's just trying to be nice to everybody. She's not really doing much in this episode.
well, he does have alcohol on his breast, so
Yeah.
according to the book. And he has voices in his head, which indicates,
Okay.
and I don't want to sound un PC or anything, so I'm just gonna leave it there.
Well, whatever the technical term is for it.
I guess schizophrenia would be the technical term if you're hearing
Yeah.
voices.
Um, yeah. Anyway, he keeps going back to the homeless shelter. I can't remember who else he tries to kill somebody else. Oh, he tries to kill Amy. Um, yeah, I kind of got lost in the episode. You take over.
Well, I don't know. I think TJ covered all the high points. I don't know. This wasn't. I will say this wasn't one of my favorite episodes. I don't know. I just thought but how good could they do it at this point in time? But the cameo thing was a little cheesy. The way they had it talking and stuff like that.
Yeah, they weren't. These were like the scraps left over for effects money. They didn't really have much to do with the.
Yeah. And I think the proof is in the pudding that the author of the book didn't have much to talk about. I mean, I think this was, maybe I'm wrong, but I think this was the one and only episode that she didn't talk for at least 4 or 5 pages about.
Yeah.
Um, but then she talks about how unique it is and stuff like that. But, anyways, I guess we can move on to the
Well,
next. Oh, did you have something you wanted
it
to
does
add,
have
teacher?
I think at the ending, it's sort of like the ending. Well, not the ending, but it's sort of like with the monkeys, where Tia Carrere, instead of letting the uh, the curse or the evil continue with her father, she kills herself. Um,
Hmm.
that's what the guy does in this.
Yeah.
He realizes what he's done, um, so he trades the homeless guy for the person that's in the locket, and then when the homeless guy's in the locket, he kills himself to free everybody from the curse. Which I that's the best part of it. Like that whole, like, he realized, you know everything he's done was wrong, and that, it has to end, and that's the only way.
Right.
That's, yeah. It's kind of slow. It's the title is it's repeating itself throughout the episode, and it's just not. It's
Hmm.
not. I mean, the guy who's the main guy, he plays the character well. Like,
Yeah, he does a good job with it.
yeah, between being, starting off kind of normal, and then, doing the wrong thing. He works fine, but it's just like, it's not that exciting.
Yeah, not one of the best
But yeah.
episodes by any stretch of the imagination. But if we move on to the next one, The Long Road Home, and
This is a good one.
yeah, this is a decent one. But whenever I read that title, for some odd reason, I just flashed back to Quantum Leap episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Only it wasn't like the Road Home; it would be like the Leap Home or whatever if it was Quantum Leap, which was what he was trying to do in that whole series. Um, but the cursed antique in this case is a yin yang charm, which I thought was kind of unique and interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I'm gonna let TJ start out talking about this, and then um, I'll add a little stuff at the end here because
So,
there's some interesting correlations in this episode. I'll just say that.
so it starts off like the ending of a regular episode,
Mm.
where um, they're trying to retrieve this cursed antique. It's like at the tail end, where we see what the uh, what the uh, what the antique does. Um, where Mickey and Jack, and well, Mickey and Johnny have already done their detective work. They know who the killer is. They're tracking down the killer before his next victim. They don't save the next victim, of course, because they're not good at saving people. Johnny is at the bottom of, so we open up at this pool. This
Mhm.
guy just gets out of the pool, puts on his robe. He leaves. Mickey comes in, sees Johnny at the bottom of the pool, jumps in to save him. Um, she she gives him a little air as she when she finds him because she doesn't know how long he's been down there.
Mm-hmm.
Later on, obviously we can't kill the main character, so Johnny doesn't die. Um, Mickey has saved him from drowning. Later on, Johnny says, makes a joke about kissing him again, and Mickey's giving him the ha 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 kind of look because she's like, I was trying to save you. I wasn't trying to become your boyfriend. Um, then we come to the big ending, which is the beginning, where
Mm-hmm.
so what the thing does is switches you can switch bodies, so you can take over another body. Is what
Mm-hmm.
the yin yang pendant does, and we get this thing where this guy, where this guy and this woman were using it for whatever reason. We don't know the full story because, like I said, it's the end of the story. But I guess her boyfriend and her were killing people, and they he switched bodies, so the bad guy switches bodies with the good guy kind of situation, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But they both end up dying, and the um, the girl's just left there with both of her boyfriends dead, or her two dead bodies in her house basically. And it's not like the vampire one where the vampire lady loses two lovers, but it gives me that vibe but it's not that situation. Anyway, so this is what another episode. I like the episode, but this is where I'm like, they just leave.
Yeah, right.
They just leave the girl who was obviously part of the whole murder
Mm-hmm.
scheme. Like, I mean, she could have been like pulled into the bad stuff, but we don't know because the episodes. It's like just the ending of an episode, but we don't know what happened for the actual what happens during the thing. But but I like the fact that it's at the end of a. So it's like two episodes, but it's only like the last, not even quarter, maybe last tenth of an episode, and then we have a whole other episode.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we've had prior episodes where we'll hear about, oh, we just picked up this cursed antique, and now
Can,
we're gonna
can
go.
I bring up something though? Why, oh why does Johnny try to get fresh with Mickey this late in the game? Because there's a whole scene where
I don't know.
she asks if his mouth is still sore, and he says, "Yeah, why don't you kiss it and make it better like you
Yeah, that's
did
what I
in the
was trying to
book?"
say
Yeah,
earlier. Yeah,
it's
that's
like,
what,
and she says, "That was business. Don't get your hopes up."
yeah,
But
yeah.
it's like, why are you, dude? Why are you even trying this late in the game?
Well, they brought it up when he was first introduced.
Yeah,
Didn't allude to it ever again until this episode.
exactly,
And I'm
exactly.
like, if you're gonna do it, you do it slowly. You don't do it like 10 episodes, or 12 episodes, 13 episodes. It made no sense, and it didn't work. Like I said earlier,
No,
when
it
we started
completely doesn't work.
the stream, I was like referring to this, and I was like, there's no relationship, boyfriend girlfriend chemistry between the two of them. It just doesn't work. I mean, there's
Yeah, and then
chemistry,
it
but it's
then
not that
it
chemistry.
keeps going, and Johnny tries to get a kiss from her. Like
Yeah,
it's like why? Where did this? Who thought this was a good idea?
he's like a stalker, but he lives with her. I mean, he's a nice stalker, not a night stalker. That's a different thing.
That's exactly right.
But yeah, so it ends with this girl with two dead bodies in her house, and it's
Mhm.
like, does she get revenge? No, we never hear from her ever again. There's only like four more episodes anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So yeah, so it ends. Um, uh, they're now in their car going back home. They're in Johnny's car. They're not driving the Mercedes this time. They're in like a
Right.
sports car, Johnny's sports car. Um, Mickey's making a call. I guess it's to Jack, saying, "Yeah, we got the pendant. We're on our way back." They stop at a diner. Um, they sort of here's where it works. The friendship thing. They start talking about learning about each other more, and like because he's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, she's like, I don't know much about you, and we don't really know much about each other, and like, so let's talk about it. And I was like, oh, that's cool. So that part works. The whole trying to get them into a relationship just first of all, it's not much. It's like just little things within the episode. It's not like a full on. Because there was that episode where she meets the dude who's the actor with the makeup. She falls in love with him pretty fast, but
Yeah.
it works better in that episode. But they
Right.
did enough. In this, there's just like they just like did a little. They spit a little bit. Like they didn't do a full like story about them trying to be in a relationship. They just like with the guy. We're just gonna put a little tree here, and that's all. And then we're gonna do the ocean. That kind of, so they're at this diner, run of the mill Twin Peaksy diner. Not even that exciting. It's like a boring Twin Peaks diner.
Mm.
We get like this waitress with like she sort of has an attitude, but then they're not really nice to her to begin with. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they're not mean to her, but it's just this weird dynamic. And then there's like this cook who's just sort of just like standing there, like he gets no dialogue, and he's like, I think he's like smoking a cigarette or whatever. And,
He's just standing in the background, kind of.
so they seem like Twin Peaks type of characters.
Yeah.
And then we get these two kind of like the town, like they're brothers and they're sort of like tough guys, but they look a little sleazy. Um, one of the guys is the guy that played the dentist in the dental chair episode.
Oh yeah, that with that weird looking dude.
Yeah,
Or I thought he was odd looking.
yeah. And then he was in another episode too. Oh, which one was that? Oh, he was the one with the wax wife.
Oh yeah.
The one who sort of fell in love with Ryan. And yeah. Um, so the two of them come into the diner and they sit down with Mickey and and Johnny, and they're like, "Hi, hi, what's your name, pretty?" One of those, "Hi, what's your name, pretty lady?" And they're like really like, and they grab her and they start touching her and like. First of all, Mickey should have never given her a real name. She gave her a real name, and I'm like, "Are you stupid?"
Yeah, and there were other episodes where she did you wouldn't catch her giving her real name. So why did
Yeah,
she do it this time?
I don't know. Anyway, there's a fight. Johnny sort of is getting the better of the two guys. They ended up getting kicked out. The waitress is like, sorry about this, and I'll give you, because Mickey ordered a hamburger, and that ended up on the floor. She's like, oh, I'll give you some food for free. They're like,
Mhm.
no, and she's like, no, please, that's the least I can do. I'm like, yeah. um,
Yeah, these deliverance like guys come in there and try to do bad things to Mickey and stuff.
Also, there's another guy like eating soup, and he just sort of is just like watching it all, and he's just like a weird looking guy with a hat on and white hair, and like, yeah, this is very like Twin Peaks. Um, this is definitely a David Lynch type episode. Not as interesting, but it's not bad. Um, though it's also it's a sort of a Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was going to bring up too. Like,
David Lynch directed a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, it would be this episode.
yeah, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Also, the author says Shades of Psycho and Last House on the Left as well.
I'd say
Which
more. I don't,
Which
Last
I think some of that might be a stretch. I definitely saw the Texas
House on the
Chainsaw
Left is
Massacre.
definitely a stretch.
Mm,
Um, well, have you ever seen One Dark Night?
yep,
The corpses in this remind me of those corpses.
right, yeah.
They look very like they're sort of mummified.
Well, didn't Tom McLaughlin do One Dark Night?
Yes, but he didn't do this episode there, did he?
No, but I think towards the end of this series run, I think Tom McLaughlin had a big like producer like element in there. Not like Frank Mancuso Jr., but I think he was pretty high up there at one point in time.
high, like literally high.
Well, no, I'm not saying like high, like marijuana high, but
Who did the effects for One Dark Knight? Berman, right? Berman Studios did the effects for
that
that.
seems right.
Um, yeah. So yeah, if Toby Hooper and yeah Lynch directed, yeah, it's like yeah, with Spielberg's help now. um, that's another thing I hate. We'll never get a full like what happened at Poltergeist. Nobody's talking about it. Um, whenever they interview anybody, no one says anything about who really directed it. The only one who ever said anything was Zelda Rubinstein, and she's like, but I think she wanted to be fancy. She's like, I was only directed by Mr. Spielberg. I'm like, bitch, please.
Right.
What were you in besides Poltergeist? I mean, come on.
She was
She was
in anguish.
well, yeah, Anguish, yeah. No, she's in. She's in a weird um, movie called Under the Rainbow,
Mm.
which was with Carrie Fisher and I forget who the guy was, but in the movie, it takes place during the filming of The Wizard of Oz, but it's at a hotel where the Munchkins were.
Ah, okay.
So Zelda Rubinstein plays one of the Munchkins, and it's a weird, like they're all drunk and they're all having sex, and it's like this weird, because there were
That's kind of
rumors that there was some
bizarre.
crazy stuff going on with the dwarf with the the little people, but
Hmm.
all of them say that never happened. It's really like it was a movie made where you could get away with a lot of the stuff that they did in with the dialogue and stuff. Anyway, so yeah, so go. So Mickey and I always have to think because I always want to say Ryan. So
Yeah.
um, after the altercation, Mickey and Johnny leave, but they don't get too far because one of the two guys cut their brake line, or no, their
Uh-huh.
gas line. Their gas line.
Yeah, that's
They ran
right.
out of gas in the middle of nowhere. Um, they have no gas. They have nowhere to go. They decide to walk. They come to this house. They break in, which I'm like, why? You can't just break into someone's house. They're out in the middle of nowhere. They were almost attacked. Well, they were attacked by these two kind of
Yeah, so why would you do this?
because people have guns. They're in this like little podunk town. This
Right.
people have guns. You don't just walk into somebody's house. They see a picture of the two people who they think own the house, and Johnny goes, "They look like nice people." I'm like, "Nice people own
Oh,
guns."
yeah, we're going to break into their house
Yeah,
because
you
they're
break into
nice
their
people.
house. They look like nice people. They can shoot you. He's an idiot. I don't. What are these? They're so stupid. And Mickey goes for it too. Mickey's like, "Yeah, let's break it and entering."
What
Then they light a fire.
did
Like
she
they're
get
making themselves really
stupid?
at home. These people could come home at any minute, but they're making like they're there. It's a bed and breakfast. They're there for the weekend.
I think maybe Mickey might have got stupidity by osmosis from Johnny or something this episode.
So anyway, so they decided we're gonna just hang out and talk. So yeah, it's so stupid. But then they bring up a good thing. Not a good thing. They bring up a something that sort of is explored in prior episodes, but not really to the fullest. Johnny's like, what if we use the cursed item, but we do it for good? Like we do it because we need to do it because it's necessary. And Jack has said there's never a good reason to use the cursed item.
Right.
They tried to use it in the prior episode. They did use it to bring Mickey back to life. Um,
Technically, they used one to keep Jack from dying.
yep, yep. Even Johnny used a cursed item to bring his dad back to life, and look what happened there.
Yeah.
Um, but it's still like they do bring it up well. Like I think the way they come about talking about it was less stupid than breaking and entering and other stuff they did. Oh, by the way, when we're at the diner, the uh, the the waitress says, "Oh yeah, they were the blah blah brothers." What were their last names?
Was it shoot. Wasn't Negley, was it?
That's what it was. The Negley brothers, and they heard it. And then when they come to the house, they don't see the mailbox, but we see the mailbox, and it says Negley on it. And I'm like, I know they didn't see it, but I mean, they were. It was right there. It wasn't like it was pitch.
Right. It wasn't like it was hidden by weeds and stuff like that.
That's another thing too. That's just the production. They should have. It should have been either darker or maybe should have been smudged a little bit so it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't clear to other people. But for the audience, it was. So yeah, there's a for what I liked about the episode, there was some stuff that was just stupid. I mean.
Yeah.
Um,
Very stupid.
so yeah, they have their little conversation. Guess what? The brothers were eventually going to come home. Like you could figure out what was going to happen. It's not much of
Mm-hmm.
suspense, but the brothers are like outside. They're going, "Aha! We know that car.
Yeah.
That's the car that we." But how did they know which way they were going to go? That they were going to end up near their house. I mean, that was
Yeah.
such a lucky
Well,
thing.
you know what that's called? That's called lazy writing. Is what that's called. That just assuming that the audience will go along with everything that they put into this episode.
Mhm. But yeah. So they finally come in the house. Uh, Mickey gets chased by the little guy who liked her. Um, earlier Mickey had lied and said that Johnny was her husband. Um,
Yeah.
so when they meet up again, he goes, your husband, blah blah blah, husband this, husband that. Well, Johnny ends up getting into a fight with the bigger brother. He gets his leg broken.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they have a little fight. Um, the brother comes back. Um, so we're assuming Johnny's dead. Um, but like I said, he's a main character. To kill him off this late in the series, kind of, even though this is his only season, really. Yeah. So yeah. So the little guy now is taking Mickey around to upstairs, where he has embalmed his grandfather
Yep.
and his mother and father. This is where you get the Texas Chainsaw
Yep.
Massacre.
Yeah. You start getting the Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibes about now.
And he's like, be nice to my mother and tell her how nice her hair looks. Um, Although when they got to the house, they noticed there was a bunch of taxidermy stuff. So I see the Psycho references, but the taxidermy
Mm-hmm.
and the corpses upstairs and the
But I don't really see a last house on the left thing.
yeah, yeah, because they're a family. I don't know.
Or because a car breaks down, but it's the one that Mickey and Johnny are in. It's not like it's
Yeah.
the Negley brothers and their car breaks down. Or
She was stretching. She needed to fill a couple of paragraphs. The publisher is like, can you add a few like lines here and there? Oh yeah, sure. Um, these corpses, like I said, they look very like mummified, and they remind me of some of them. One of I think it's the grandfather looks a little gooey. So that's where
yeah,
the One Dark Night in my mind comes about.
yeah,
So yeah, he can hear them talk, I guess. So he's a little nutty. Um, so the brother comes upstairs. He's acting a little weird.
mm-hmm.
Um, and he's like, I want to have some time with the girl before you have her.
Right.
And the brother doesn't kind of is not into it at first, but he's like, sure, like you're my brother. I care about you. You can do something. Maybe because of the last house on the left reference is because of the possible R word that's going on here. Um,
That that I would lean towards that
that's a
is
big stretch, though. I mean,
yeah, it's still a stretch, but you know,
yeah.
we
Anyway,
can ask the author exactly what did you mean by that?
yeah. Anyway, so Mickey's pretty scared. She doesn't know. She thinks Johnny's dead at this point. Um, so yeah, so the big guy ends up. So Mickey's tied to a chair with the dead family,
Mhm.
and then like I said, the big brother's like, hey, I want to have my way with her first. And the guy's like, okay, I'll go downstairs and make a sandwich, and when I'm done, I'll come and get her.
Right.
Um, so the big guy, after his brother goes downstairs, he goes over to Mickey and starts untying her.
Mhm.
And then Mickey starts kind of like smacking him and scratching at him and whatever. And he's like, Mickey, it's me, Johnny. So Johnny has switched bodies. He's like, remember how I said about using the cursed item when we really needed to? This is when I needed to. My leg was broken. I couldn't do anything, so I had to switch the bodies, or otherwise, there's no way I would have been able to come and help you. Um, I don't think this is the right time for a lecture. Neither did Mickey, so Mickey doesn't really say anything about that.
Yeah.
So, in the guise of the older brother, he has to fool the other brother. He's not doing a good job because he's like, "Oh, go get the, go get your girlfriend or whatever." And he's like, I think she's fine where she is." And it's one of a girl that they have traps to
Mhm.
outside the house to capture people. Um, and we find one girl was trapped, and they ended up killing her and turning her into a taxidermy dummy. Um, Actually, when they first get there and they see Mickey and Johnny, they're like, "We're surprised that you got past the traps." Um,
Mhm.
oh yeah, so Johnny, in the disguise of the brother, is trying to fool the other guy. He's sort of talking in like single words, and he's trying not to talk too much so he doesn't, because the guy's sort of the big dumb. He's like a big dummy type of
Mhm.
character. Um, there's the point in the diner where they come over and sit down, and the guy just grabs Mickey's hamburger and starts eating it. And it's like, boy, rude much? Anyway.
Yeah.
So Mickey gets away. She starts looking for Johnny's body. No, no. Mickey and the guy get away.
Mhm.
Um, I forget how they trick the guy into. I guess he's doing something in the house, so he's not paying attention. Why they go out to the barn where Johnny's body is, so they can get Johnny's body back and get out of there. Um, well, the jig is up. The other brother has figured it out, sort of. Um, there's a little bit of a scuffle.
Mhm.
Johnny switches his body back. Um, what is it? They he, I can't remember what he. I'm gonna watch it and find out. Let me see. What does he do? Mickey finds the pendant on the yeah
Yeah.
the tall brother gets falls over, and Mickey uses the pendant to switch the bodies back. Um, uh, I guess the power of the cursed item mends his broken leg. We see like it
Yeah.
like, snaps back into place. Um, Now that the bodies are switched back, the wound on the brother opens up, and he bleeds out. He's probably dead already. So the other brother, so both the brothers are supposedly dead.
Hmm.
Um,
But there's kind of one last little
this
stinger here.
is actually a good. I like how this.
Mm,
So they think they got away, but the corpse of the grandfather attacks Johnny, and we
hmm.
find out that the the pendant he used the brother used the pendant to switch his body. So
Right.
the smaller brother switched bodies with the corpse. So he's like attacking them, and it's a very it's a effective little like it's obviously somebody in a costume, but it's kind of like the corpse is talking and the face is all gross looking and
I don't know why I find this funny, but when Mickey stabs the grandpa and
yeah
the sawdust comes out,
yeah.
it's like I can't help but laugh about that.
Well, he's trying to push the sawdust back
He's
into his
trying to
body,
push it back in.
and they're running out to escape, and he's just like on the ground, and he's just like doing this, trying to get the stuffing back in his body.
Yeah.
Um, well, they get into the truck. Of course, the truck won't start because it's a horror movie. They can't get the truck to start while the corpse is running out to kill them. Well, he gets snared in one of those, rope traps in the tree, and he basically he gets all the stuffing kind of falls out of him because he's upside down, and then there's like this big evil wind, or maybe it's a good wind. I don't know. This weird wind comes and starts shaking him around, and he's like, so all his stuffing is falling out, which kills him, I guess.
Yeah, I
I,
guess so.
but hey, it's a cool like visual with him like flailing around and him screaming and the
All his remaining stuffing basically falls out. So I
yeah
guess that means he dies.
yeah and yeah that's it and somehow they get their car back. I guess they
Mhm.
got because it ends with it ends.
Well, it says that, let's see, Mickey and Johnny make it out to the Negley's truck. So did they drive the Negley's truck?
I don't know because it ends with the corpse finally being dead, and
Mhm.
it's the next morning, and they're at Johnny's.
Oh, okay. So Mickey and Johnny make it back to his car
Yeah.
with the charm and head back home. So I guess,
By the way, if you read some of her synopsis about the episode, she does things out of order sometimes.
yeah, I did notice that.
Like one thing she was talking about, like the middle of the episode, and I'm like, that's not how you write. But anyway, uh, yeah, and they're talking about their conversation that they had earlier that they were going to continue about talking more about their lives and
Mhm.
maybe it was a hint at them forming like a romantic relationship, but it never comes up again.
And the author says, luckily, they never do. The author was kind of like us, that she did not like that whole trying to build a romance with
Yeah.
Mickey and Johnny. But here's an interesting thing. Henshaw, who was, what was Henshaw? Was he a producer, a writer? I don't know.
um,
I'm trying to think who he was. But anyway, he has a slightly different recollection of the potential Mickey and Johnny romance. He says, I don't think we ever intended for there to be a romance. I think there was a natural kind of chemistry between them, which I don't see at all. So I don't know where that's coming from. Um, he says, I think the fans were sort of looking for something based on the fact that Ryan and Mickey had been cousins. So nothing could happen between them.
identical colors.
But I don't know. Uh,
When people want people together that don't belong together.
Roby though, she wasn't shy about her feelings on a Mickey Johnny romance. She has Frank Mancuso Jr. Why on earth would Mickey be dating a dolt?
Yeah,
There is no way Mickey would have been involved with him.
no, not like that. No. Yeah, I don't know. I hate when fans do that. They like, we want to ship characters together. Like, no. And
Yeah.
it's usually like there was a show Once Upon a Time. They wanted the two female stars to be in a relationship, and I was like, I mean, that's fine, but no, it just made them. It was so stupid. It's like women just can't be friends. They have to be in a relationship. I mean,
Thank you, Wes. Wes says Friday 13th, the series is only 3 seasons, but felt like 30. Well, I
Well,
appreciate that, Wes.
you do go to his house and chain him to the computer and don't allow him to touch the buttons when he watches these episodes, these breakdowns, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
I
Um,
was gonna go through these faster, but I didn't realize how many episodes there were, and now I'm like, oh, we still got like 5 episodes.
yeah, I think that's the thing I ran into as well. But for y'all's benefit, we can try to cover these last few pretty quickly if TJ agrees with that. Um,
This next episode was bonkers. I love this episode.
yeah, and
It's bad. It's so bad. It's good because it's so ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Jim Henshaw was actually a writer, but he didn't write the one that was before this one. But he did write the "My Wife is a Dog" episode, which was again directed by Armand Mastriani. Um, the cursed item in this case, of course, is a leash.
Yeah, a dog leash.
Uh, so, yeah, go ahead and kick this one off, TJ, because I know you really want to talk about this one.
Well, it has returner Dennis Forrest, who's been in like 8 episodes.
Yeah.
He's the one with the long blonde, scraggly hair, who's been in a lot of stuff.
Yep. Yep. That keeps showing up.
He's always a bad guy. He's never a good guy. Um, oh, he was in a show that we should do, Nightmare Cafe. We should do that show
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
with Robert Englund and the girl from Dead Heat, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think it's what the Bates Motel TV movie wanted to be, but they
I think so. Yeah.
without Bud Cort and
Exactly.
Lori Petty. Um, oh, this episode has Jane Eastwood from the Dawn of the Dead remake.
Uh-huh.
She was the one who finds out that the guy's wife turned into a zombie with the zombie baby, and they have the little shootout. I think is she related to Clint Eastwood? Because her name is Jane Eastwood.
Hey, yeah, I'm not really sure.
Oh, she's from Canada. She's probably not related to.
Unless she's a Canadian cousin or something. Well,
Nah, she's not related. Anyway, all right. So this guy who's a fireman. His wife works in a bar. She wants him to sign the divorce papers, but he's stalking her, and he's if he's not physically abusive, he's borderline mentally abusing her.
mm-hmm.
And he uses a dog leash. That it's another transfer thing where the dog leash can transfer body souls, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And he wants to keep her his wife. And he's slowly turning her into a dog.
Yep.
With his, he loves his dog, but he wants his wife back. But he wants to have kind of both at the same time.
Right. He wants his cake and eat it too.
So yeah, he kills a bunch of people along the way.
Yep.
His wife is slowly, physically, her face with prosthetics starts turning into a dog. It's a very weird episode. We got Jack and Mickey and Johnny running around doing their thing. There's a point where, like, she basically has. She's just her eyes are changed and she's wearing sunglasses. She can't eat regular food because she goes to the diner where her friend works, played by Jane Eastwood, and she's got this food in front of her and she's trying to eat it like a dog. So she's putting her face into it, and her friend's like, something's going on here. And,
yeah, there's something weird going on here.
Yeah. So her friend's trying to get her friend's ex to or to sign the divorce papers. Um, he ends up killing her
Mm-hmm.
because she looks at the divorce papers to check them out and sees that they're not signed, and he kills her. There's a bunch of kills. The wife's turned into a dog. Mickey and Ryan are trying to. Mickey and Jack and Johnny are trying to save everybody, but it ends up not working. Um, the transfer happens. He changes his wife and his dog, and they switch places. The
Mm-hmm.
dog dies, presumably with the wife's soul. Um, and he ends up going to jail for all the killings,
Mm-hmm.
but he gets a visit in jail, and it's from his supposedly no more ex-wife. And he goes, "Oh, you brought me my slippers, and you brought me the paper." And then we
Yeah.
switch to her face, and she's like, and she's now
Right.
become a dog. So he ends up in jail, but he wins.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
guy wins, and they get the leash back, but they don't even realize that the bodies have been switched. Or maybe they do
Mm.
realize, but they don't care. This is where I'm like, the episode's quite wacky and fun, but parts of it, like, they just let the bad guy win.
Yeah. Again, I think that's
Losing his wife, he shouldn't have gotten away with that, but
I
whatever.
think that's a little bit more of lazy writing.
Yeah,
Uh,
he doesn't die or anything. He just ends up in jail for the rest of his life, maybe. And his wife is now a dog.
yeah. I mean, how's that going to work out for her?
So it did remind me of that joke from Ghostbusters where Dana turns into a dog and he goes,
Yeah.
"So she's a dog." when,
Yeah. Exactly.
but yeah, this is some cool, weird makeup effects, and
Yeah,
I like
and
it and
I
I don't
mean,
like it.
I'm
It's so
not
good.
gonna say it's not an interesting episode and
Well,
a
it's interesting.
different take on these other Friday the 13th the series episodes. Here's something that I saw in the book too. When the lady that played the woman essentially turned into a dog. She said that that transformation was hard. She said, "I won't lie." But she had to have special contact lenses put in, and they told her they were the same kind Michael Jackson used in Thriller. So I find that interesting.
Yeah.
Um, she said she also had to have, of course, a plaster cast made of her face, and she had to sit in a chair for half an hour with two straws up her nose to breathe, and
Hmm.
she had a panic attack,
Yeah.
and had them rip it off. See, that's what would happen to me nowadays with my claustrophobia so bad. I wouldn't even have them attempt to put plaster on my face. I'd be like, nope, nope, not doing that. But yeah, interesting episode. But I do agree with TJ that there were some things that, like I said, that's lazy writing. They just put stuff in there and just assume that the audience is going to accept it, and some of the audience will accept it, and then other people like me and TJ just won't accept it. So, but anything else you want to say about that episode before we move on? Okay, so
I completely agree.
the next episode is Jack in the Box, and of course, the cursed antique is a Jack in the Box. No
Yep.
real mystery there. Um, this is the one that has Lori Hallier in it, playing one of Mickey's friends. So we have to wonder, is something bad going to happen to Lori Hallier in this episode because she's friends with Mickey? It's not only that objects are cursed in this series, but sometimes people are cursed just
Yeah.
for being too close to Mickey, or when Ryan was on the show, John LeMay was on the show, people being too close to him. Um, Blissel says, Dana, I'm picturing us having a spa day and you taking people out. I would hope that if I was having a spa day, I'd be really chilled, and I wouldn't be, wanting to take people out. I would hope anyway. Um, Bliss, will you say is her name spelled properly?
Who?
You mean Lori Hallier?
Oh.
I don't know. I guess it. I guess her name is. But anyway, I'm gonna let TJ go ahead and start talking about this episode.
Yeah. So we got this husband that's drowned. He works at like a pool. These sort of kids are fooling around.
Mm.
He drowns. His wife, who's a friend of Mickey's, is trying to deal with the loss of her husband. Her young daughter is also affected by the loss of the dad. So it starts off happy, and then someone dies, and then everybody's miserable. It's sort of, and then we get a little comedy act from Jack and Mickey for a couple of seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the mother, and the house is sort of decorated for a birthday party. Is it for the dad, or is it the daughter's birthday? I can't remember.
Gosh.
He gives her the music box. The music box is already possessed. The music box.
Oh, I guess it's the daughter's birthday.
To the daughter's birthday. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, the mother just is drinking a lot. I guess the only way to deal with loss is to drink. There's no other way to. Can't you just be depressed? You really need to drink.
At least in television and movies, that's how it goes.
Yeah. Mickey's trying to cheer up her friend a little bit. Johnny's trying to, be nice to the little girl. They're all sort of suffering after the loss of the father. The the Jack in the Box is basically telling the kid, "We can bring your father back to life if you bring me to the people that caused his death." So we're making a little girl do the evil deeds, which is like, okay, I guess that's different at least.
Right.
Usually the adults. And we had a teenager do it a couple times, but that's about it. So here's how the curse works. She cranks the Jack in the Box crank.
Right. Yeah, I don't know what else to call that thing.
Yeah. And then these hands sort of come out and drown the victims.
Mm-hmm.
And as every time there's a killing, the little girl could talk to the ghost of her dad. So every time there's a killing, she talks more to the dad, and the dad gets to a point where he's like, "You can't do this. It's bad. It's wrong." So the ghost isn't really controlled by the evil. So it's not evil. The box is evil itself, but it doesn't bring evil back. Like it doesn't make the ghost evil. They do that in the next episode. And there's a lot of drama with trying to get the mother to kind of pay attention to what's going on, and there's one scene where one of the guys is at the local bar, and the little girl. Why is the little girl going to a bar? That part I was like, would they let her in?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So anyway, the ghost of the dad is like, don't do this, it's wrong. The little girl's mad at the mother for being drunk all the time. So she gets the idea to kill her mother, and then the ghost of the dad says she gets well, the dad sort of gives the dad sort of leads her that way because the dad's like, um, your mother wouldn't let that happen while she's alive. So the little girl gets the idea. All right, I'll kill mommy and then I can get my daddy back. Which like, ooh,
Hmm.
that was a bad mistake. Um, this isn't like Jennifer Love Hewitt and the Ghost Whisperer. It's not the same thing. She's a little better.
Right.
She's a little better at this. Long story short, the little girl realizes, realizes it's bad, and she's not gonna kill her mother, and um, the the ghost of the father can now leave because he knows everybody's safe. Um, they put the Jack in the Box in the vault, and that's
Well,
it.
hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a creepy episode with the Jack in the Box is creepy looking. It kind
Yeah.
of reminds me of the Punch and Judy from Dolls.
Yeah.
That kind of look to the face, or maybe Jester from the um, the Puppet Master series.
Did
Uh,
you ever see, speaking of like Punch and Judy dolls and things like that, did you ever see that old movie Screen Time? It was basically a horror anthology type movie. Those puppets on that were creepy, I thought.
weirdly edited. It's like a British movie. It's very
Yeah, I
weird.
believe so, yeah.
It just kind of ends too. It's just weird.
Hmm.
Isn't that the
It's
one
a
with
little
the woman?
oddity.
The woman. Her and her husband move into a new house. Is that
Yeah,
the one? Okay.
I believe so, yeah. Yeah, it's been years since I saw it, but
Spoiler: she has a premonition of what happened.
mhm,
That was about to happen. Not yeah.
right.
That
That
was actually for shitty. Like it was like I think it seemed like it was shot on video type of. Was it shot on video?
it
Or did it just
seemed that way, but I don't know 100% if it was or not. Um, but I'm going to answer Blissful. She says, yes, Lori spelled Laurie because I don't think Blissful will mind me saying this. I think I've said it before. Her real name is Lori. But no, Lori Halyer's name is spelled like how my mother spells her name,
LOR?
Lori. Yeah. So, yeah, I guess it's not spelled right, Blissful. But it'd be spelled right for my mom because that's how she spells her name. But anyway,
But
um,
yeah. So it's got some creepy scenes. Having the little girl walk, be the instrument of the evil is because she's not doing it like because she's bad. She just wants her daddy back. So.
right, exactly.
But yeah.
Um, so moving on to the next episode, The Spirit of Television. Again, not much mystery there. The cursed antique is a television. There's no mystery at all, really. Um, so I don't know. I think right about this point in time, even rewatching these episodes, I was starting to get, can we just end it already? And I think, reading these or looking over these interviews in the back of the book, the epilogue or whatever,
Mhm.
basically everybody else was ready for it to end too. Roby was ready for it to end because she basically said she was fed up with the show, the whole thing by then. But I want to hear what TJ has to say about this episode, Spirit of Television.
Yep. So we have this woman who's a psychic. She's mostly psychic to the rich people. She gets this woman first who's like a rock star. Her ex, her boyfriend, he's ex because he's dead. Her boyfriend, who was also like the guitarist, she wants to contact him. Um, there's a it's a typical seance room with the table and the dark lights and the no lights and whatever. So there's a TV there. That's the cursed item, and
Yeah,
the person who is there for the seance is the only person that can see these things on the TV. And what we see on the TV is the person they're trying to contact, and they're very like friendly and warm to them. But when they leave, random TV that they're watching, they see the apparition again. But this time, it's not it's mad at them. It's telling them that it hates them, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, and they end up getting Carol Ann. They get like pulled into the TV.
Right.
There's actually some cool effects with the TV, like with the faces coming out of the TV, and the kind of remind me of Demons 2, where the face sort of comes out of the TV.
Yeah, and it's just pressing outward and
Effects wise, it works.
yeah.
There's an end scene where the hands are coming out of the TV, and there's a bright light, and Jack's being trying to be sucked into the TV, and so the effects work.
I think the effects worked in this episode better than anything else did.
That's the only thing that ups the story is the effects.
Yeah.
And probably mostly in-camera stuff. Maybe some added on, probably green screens or blue screens or whatever. Anyway, and then so when they're trying to find out, they know about that's another thing too. They seem to know about the cursed item earlier in these episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Is it just me, or is that?
No, I think you're spot on with that, TJ. And maybe it was because the show was running out of steam, and so it's just like, what the hell? We'll just get to the point quicker.
Yeah, because then there's so when they're putting the thing together, right? There's we're finding dead bodies are showing up. That's another thing too. Whenever they're like, well, these bodies that are showing up dead, and sometimes they're like, but it can't be the cursed item, right? Because no, it's always the cursed item. If you're finding dead bodies,
why are they even questioning it at this point?
They're questioning too much for this. In the third season, there's too many of them times I'm questioning shit that's happening. It's just
you've had 2 prior seasons where it's always the damn cursed item. So why are you asking questions now?
They didn't believe the guy with the mortician thing. It's like, okay, come on. Anyway, so Mickey knows this woman who's a designer, who I guess is also a client of the psychic woman. So her and Johnny tag along with her. I guess Mickey makes a call. I mean, I don't know. And that woman ends up same thing. She sees somebody she loves, or she knew, or she had a mentor who was a designer, and she's basically stealing the woman's designs.
Mm-hmm.
This dead woman is showing her designs from beyond the grave, and she's making money off of them. I think.
I'm just gonna steal those. Thank you, dead person.
So when the woman comes back and she's taunting her, she's like, the designer woman. She's like, yeah, but you're dead. You weren't going to use them anyways. Like, really, you're trying to rationalize to a ghost? Anyway.
Yeah, nah. You.
So there's a bunch of deaths. Jack's trying to help out. It's not working out well for him. We do find out that we find the reason why the psychic woman is using. We found out earlier that she was a medium, but she was only kind of like she was a medium.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But after the cursed item, she became a really good medium. An extra
But
medium.
that always comes at a cost, though.
Yes, of course. But we find out she has an illness,
mm-hmm.
and the cursed item is taking away her illness every time she kills somebody.
Yep, there we go again. You got to give the cursed object something before it'll help you.
Which is funny because yin and yang is basically what the cursed items are.
Mm-hmm.
But we had we had a literal yin and yang episode.
Yeah.
So anyway, she has a boyfriend who doesn't know that she's dying, basically. And what the TV does, it gives her like 10 days or whatever of extra life. I guess after she kills a certain amount of people, she can not. It's not really specified whether she gets cured or not, because there's a point where she kills somebody, and the TV only gives her a day
Mhm.
Then she gets pus on her face and growths on her body and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
And her boyfriend is like really caring and like really supportive of her and like oh you've been better for such a long time and it's a miracle and whatever. But then at the end, he sort of finds out that it's a cursed item and he just jumps right in and helps her out. And it's like he seemed like a nicer guy that he wouldn't be persuaded to kill people for her. But
Right.
no, he goes for it, ends up getting killed in the process. He gets sucked into the TV instead of Jack. Uh,
Mhm.
Jack lives. All the bad guys die.
Yeah.
Jack says something poetic at the end, and it's over. So then,
Yeah, he basically tells um an Arabian Nights story, basically, is what he tells at the end. It's like, why do you gotta have that at the end of this?
and it was confusing. I had to hear it like a couple of times, but I'm like, what did he just say?
Yeah, exactly. Now, here's something that bothered me too, and I'm going back to what the author put in the book, but here's the big problem she had with this episode, okay? Let's see what you guys think and what TJ thinks.
Sure.
So she says, TV has been a sacred thing to me. I didn't like the idea of a television set, something that was a source of comfort to me, being a tool for evil. I just think that's a kind of like lame excuse for not liking the cursed item that they picked. Like how many people out there growing up that a television was basically their babysitter because the parents had to be out of the house, working or whatever. And you're not hearing anybody but her say this, maybe because she had a book that she wrote and she wanted to put that uh, in there for, not that she was saying, oh, this is my book, I'll just do what I want. But
Yeah.
she said she didn't want her perfect television to be sullied with evil spirits.
Yeah, it was like no interviews. Like nobody had anything to say about this episode, and she had.
That's another thing. Like it's basically all the plot of the episode. And then her little thing at the end where I didn't like them using a television as a cursed object.
Well, when they one of these last episodes, she wrote something about, and she said something, and I was like, it's like she couldn't understand how the cursed item worked. Do you remember which one that was?
Oh
She
shoot,
was
I'm
talking
trying to
about it, and I
remember.
was like, I understood. What didn't you understand?
Yeah, I think we both understood, but now I'm having
Was
trouble.
the one we
Like,
already talked about? I can't remember. Maybe it was.
I'm starting to have CRS, like a lot of other people say they do. Um,
Because she's like, I didn't understand how this worked, and I'm like, it was pretty odd. It made sense to me, but
it's pretty, black and white and up front and all that
yeah,
good stuff. But
I don't know. I don't know.
she also says this episode's a perfectly forgettable episode. Maybe that's why she didn't bother to get any interviews with anybody.
Maybe.
Um,
But I mean,
so-
that's not how you write a book. You're supposed to
right? Is that be
to a
consistent?
certain level, right? I mean,
Right. So the next, I believe this is the next to last episode here, which is Tree of Life. The cursed antique is a druid figurine in this case.
hmm
So take it away, TJ.
so we get this group of, I guess they're witches, um, or they're more like something out of like The Hobbit or something like that. They're so they're all women because women are evil, I guess. So they're um, they're using their wood nymph magic to have women have babies. Um, the husbands get sacrificed.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the female babies are brought to like a someplace in the hospital that these women work at, and they're sort of gonna be like the next rulers of the world or something like that. So they pretend that the babies are died during birth. I don't know how you can where you're getting all these uh, baby corpses to take the place of the babies that didn't die, but anyway, um, it was
Yeah, this episode was an odd one.
it's a weird one, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so this woman has a baby. She's like, I thought I was having twins. Oh, the daughter's dead. She has a
Mhm.
son. The husband disappears. There's been a lot of husbands disappearing for a while. Um, Cops never find out anything. Um, but in these shows and TV shows and movies and stuff, it's usually the,
No, because I think it would derail these a lot of these episodes if the cops figured out anything.
maybe like the show Charmed. All these people, like random people, are getting murdered because they're warlocks. And like, would people know that these people just disappear out of the thin air? I think at one point on that show, one of them dated a cop, so they had to bring the cop into the storyline. And like, okay, either you have the characters in the storyline, or
Well, it reminds me too of that movie Boys on the Side with Whoopi Goldberg and Drew Barrymore in it. And
Oh,
Drew Barrymore,
Barrymore's been
like,
canceled, by the way.
hi, what
Drew
was that?
Barrymore's been canceled. So.
Her show got canceled?
No, as a
Oh,
person.
okay.
She was she's hired writers, or supposedly she has writers for her show, and she's supposed to be
Oh,
not
mm,
doing that
mm.
um, for because of the Screen Actors Guild stuff. And
Yeah, ooh,
so,
that's
so
dicey.
people are saying,
But
"Oh, she's a scab. She's hiring scabs now."
in that movie, she kills her abusive boyfriend, and
Oh,
then takes.
I never watched it, so I didn't.
Oh well, maybe I better stop.
I'm never gonna watch it.
So she ends up getting to get when they run away to this other, I think Tucson is where they end up, and she ends up dating Matthew McConaughey's character. And guess what Matthew McConaughey's character is? He's a cop. And she ends up telling him about killing the abusive boyfriend. And she ends up going to jail
Uh,
for a while. But anyway,
so yeah, yeah. The dad takes a candle into the woods, and they're going for this too. He brings a candle into the woods and is supposed to offer it to the gods of good baby births. I
hmm,
guess I don't know. And then he gets sucked into the ground and killed. Um, it's like even like where the babies are born, there's like foliage all over the place because they're tree witches or whatever the hell they are.
right.
Um, so anyway, we leave the woman and her son. Her she comes back later. The son had died of some kind of illness or whatever, um, and she's sort of wandering around. Until she finds out her daughter's alive. Mickey finds out that Mickey and the gang find out that the babies with this is they at least finally we go back to an episode where they do some sleuthing. They're
Yeah.
like looking for like information and they're trying to find out stuff. So we finally get back on track a little bit with that. Not this is a great episode, but at least they kind of go back to the formula that worked. Um, yeah. Anyway, the mother gets reunited with her kid. Um, the witches sort of get their comeuppance, and
Hmm.
it's a little bit of more of a happy ending.
And
But
Johnny he gets sucked into the ground by a tree,
yes,
which is which is kind of cool. Um, and this was evidently one of, and I know I'm gonna massacre his name here, so just bear with me, guys and gals. But the guy that played Johnny, Steve Monarchs,
Sure.
it's one of his favorite episodes.
Yeah.
Um, he says he got sucked into the ground by a tree, so I got to deal with all that. That was fun, he said. And then he says it's certainly better than being raped by a tree, like in the Evil Dead. So,
Oh, there's a little bit of the Wicker Man in this.
yeah, I got that.
Jack ends up getting caught by the tree people, and they make these like
Wooden
coffins.
wooden suits or whatever they.
Yeah, and they're made out of wicker.
Yep.
Um, yeah, and he's supposed to be sacrificed. He gets put in one and lifted up, and yeah. Actually, there's some good tree limb attack going on.
Yeah.
It's not as it's
Not tree rape, but just tree attacks.
it's a little. Depending on what lighting you watch, if it's too bright, you can see kind of how bad it is. But it's not.
Right.
It works enough. But yeah, the effects are okay. Like I said, they a little bit more back to formula in this.
Yeah.
They're not as stupid in this.
Even Johnny.
I mean, he did okay. I mean,
I guess we got to give him a little bit of credit here and there.
once.
So, um, now that brings us to the final episode of the
Yes.
season 3, as well as being the final episode of this entire series.
So sad.
Yeah, kind of sad. Yeah, in this case, this was again directed by Armand Mastriani, and the Cursed Antique is a double face painting. And
Mm-hmm.
boy, did they have a lot to say in this book about this damn episode. Maybe because it was the last one.
Maybe.
But it does have something to do with the Marquis de Sade as well. So I'm going to let TJ start talking about this one, and we'll let everybody go home after that. After we
This episode I call the waxwork episode because it's like that episode of
yeah.
it's like that with the it's literally the Marquis de Sade. This is a painting instead of a waxwork display. But yeah, so the painting is a two-sided painting. It's like a bad and good and bad. Well, I don't know if they're both good. Maybe not as good and bad.
There's a little S&M stuff in here,
yeah.
as much as I could get away with on television. That is.
It's also sort of a time travel scenario going on. You can say it was the Marquis de Sade, the fictional version of who the guy was, but yeah. So this guy who's like is he a teacher or something?
I think, yeah, professor, I believe.
Yeah, he's right. He is a teacher, and he's teaching about the Marquis de Sade. He brings one of his students back to his house to see his etchings and talk about books.
And his attic playroom.
Where he does his S&M crap.
Yeah.
Of note, there the girl who played Jack's niece in that dancing episode is the first girl that he brings back to the house.
That's right. Yeah.
She doesn't end up as long in this episode as she did in that episode, but the same thing. She ends up dying. She gets pushed into this painting where if blood is used to open the portal that sends you into time, but it sends you to a specific place. It sends you to the Marquis de Sade, where he switches one person for another person, but in exchange he gets these sort of scrolls from the Marquis de Sade, and he uses them in his work, I guess. So I don't know if he's plagiarizing them or whatever, but the guy's sort of trading with the Marquis, who knows what's sort of going on. I don't know if he knows it's the future or not. But he sends him a girl, and then he sends him a girl back, but the girl who comes back ends up dead.
Right.
So it's a one-way life thing. Well, for now. Another girl who's looking for a friend goes to the professor. He's not helping her that much because he supposes he doesn't know what's going on. While her back is turned, he knocks her out, kidnaps her, brings her to his house, and chains her up in his special room. This is a little bit of shades of Hellbound Hellraiser 2, where the
Yeah.
Dr. Chenard takes people to his place and ties them up and whatever. Yeah, Waxwork beats that movie a little bit. So Mickey ends up being sucked into the painting, but she's sort of liking being trapped. She's sort of challenging the Marquis de Sade, and
Yeah.
um, sort of she's the alpha in the situation. But he still wants to be. She's not succumbing to his ways, but she's maybe getting acclimated to them, let's say, and challenging him on them until she ends up getting chained up because she wants to kind of. I don't know if she secretly wants to experience it or not. It's kind of up to you to decide whether she's really just playing along or she's actually into it. Anyway, she gets found out because she's pretending to be like this upper crust. I don't know if she's like not a princess or something, but she's just sort of like a well-to-do lady or whatever. I guess that's a knighthood, right? If you're a lady, isn't that what it is in England or whatever?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, she ends up getting found out and tied up, and she's about to be, whipped and whatever. The two Scoobies figure out what's going on. The other girl that the professor kidnapped, she ends up getting away, though it's alluded to that he's been using her for sexual gratification. So she's not going to leave scarred without being scarred. Jack figures out a way to get Mickey back. Johnny ends up going into the painting. They both fight sort of with the Marquis de Sade. And the Marquis sort of like footman or helper or whatever. The helper gets killed. He gets thrown into the painting, so it opens up the portal. Jack somehow figures out that if you send 2 dead bodies back, it'll exchange for 2 living bodies. That's the only thing I could figure out. And Mickey and Johnny end up getting back to the present through that way. Johnny goes in first. Mickey has to have a little, I don't know, realization about herself, and then she goes into the painting. They're at the vault. They have dropped off the painting and a box that the guy was also given by Uncle Lewis. And we don't know how Uncle Lewis came with the painting. We also kind of, I guess, the painting was cursed before Uncle Lewis. I guess that's sort of alluded to. Or I don't know if it blatantly said it or not, but I think I'll say it's alluded to that.
Yeah, I would think so too. Yeah.
But anyway, during the bulk of the story where Mickey is trapped, she sort of starts writing in a letter for the future. So if she ends up dying, people in the future will kind of know what happened to her. And at the end, we see the little box that she put the letter in. And the letter was sealed, and when she finds it, it's open. And it tells how the painting worked. And she thinks that, she's like, oh, am I responsible for all the murders because I basically gave the professor all the information of how the painting worked? And then Jack says, it's not the words that cause someone to do all this. They would have done it. They would have found another way to do all this crazy stuff. So he gives Mickey, he sort of lets her off the hook. It's maybe not her fault, but I think it's a little deeper than Jack was doing it. But I think they just trying to get Mickey off the hook there a little bit. which they've done in prior episodes. They just sort of let things happen, and it's like I don't know about this, but yeah. So it was a visually interesting episode. I like the whole. I like kind of the costume drama kind of situation. So I like they all dressed up and everything like that. And I was gonna say it reminded me of Dark Shadows, but then I read in the book that I guess was it the director had gotten a job on the Dark Shadows revival that they did in the early '90s
Oh yeah.
because of this episode because there was a lot of time travel in Dark Shadows.
Mm-hmm.
In this episode, kind of I guess Dan Curtis had seen it and said, "Oh, I want you to work for me because I think you."
It says that that episode actually got me Dark Shadows.
Okay,
Mastriani
so yeah,
says of the 1991 reboot of the vampire soap
yeah.
opera. Yep.
And that they closed the vault for the final time.
Yeah. Exactly.
But
Which this while this wasn't my favorite episode, it was an okay episode. It wasn't absolutely horrible or anything.
it's watchable.
Um
Like I would watch
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's all right, you know.
But it's the author of this book, Curious Goods. It's her all-time favorite episode. And
Okay.
I find that a bit odd, but based on some of the other things she said throughout the book, I don't find it totally odd or totally off base.
I think it's funny you're worried about the guy who played Johnny watching this and being offended. I think the woman who wrote the book might be offended.
Well, I don't want to be honest, I don't want to offend anybody.
We're
You
doing it
know.
with the real lighthearted here with this. We're not like
Yeah. I
this
am
isn't the
trying
boomer conversation I had earlier.
to
This is
be lighthearted. But, unfortunately, some of the things I've said since my channel has had more content on it, I'm not going to say since I got more popular because I don't feel like I have. It just is what it
over
is.
600 now.
Yeah, yeah. But I think I have offended people in some areas with things I've said, not about the topic at hand, basically, but
Mm.
about outside, personal things that I've said have hit people wrong. So for that all I can say is I apologize, and I didn't mean to say anything off color. I'll just say that. Um, but I want to thank TJ again for helping me to navigate our way through Friday the 13th, the series.
Thank
I
you.
couldn't do it without him. Um,
Oh,
Otherwise, you'd have, like I always say, my tired old ass up here fumbling around talking about these episodes, and it just would not be fun at all. So I really appreciate TJ coming in here for all these. And on that note, we are going to be covering Tales from the Crypt. Now, TJ, are we going to try covering all the first season episodes, or are we going to break those up?
there's only 6 of the first season,
Right.
right?
So I just wanted to know, like, just maybe your thoughts on that. If you wanted to break it up into three and three, or just cover the whole six.
I think we can get through them fast. I mean,
I think so too, but I
they're all
just want
individual
to.
stories. I think it's harder to talk about something when it's well, not harder, but it's more detailed when it's an anthology show that's all connected. It's not all separate stories.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's what this was because it had the 3 main characters and then a bunch of new characters coming in for one episode and then um,
Right.
yeah, I think it'd
Uh,
be easier to go through the 6 Tales from the Crypt.
all right. And I think, doesn't the first season have the Santa Claus, the killer
Yep.
Santa Claus in it, played by Larry Drake?
And all through the house
Yep.
and what else? Dig that cat, he's real gone. I like that one.
Yeah, a lot of.
I just like the title. The
I,
episode's
li-
pretty cute.
I always like that title too.
Um,
Um, but
we won't be hearing a boots. We
right.
don't have to hear all these Canadian accents.
Uh, not we don't have anything against our Canadian brothers and sisters though.
No.
Um, just this will be a break from all things Canadian, basically. So we're
And
gonna
the
go.
bacon is just ham, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So um, I'm really super tired, so I think now would be a good time to tie all this up. Now tomorrow night I should be doing another Seductive Poison: The Resurgence podcast. Um, Friday, again, as a reminder, there will be no midday with Dana and Jay. I'm sorry about that, but this gal's got to work the late shift at work. So, and I start work right at the time when Jay and I would normally be doing that stream. So, we will return next week. And also, the 28th, which Thursdays is usually when I do my Seductive Poison: The Resurgence
Uh,
podcast streams. I have gotten invited to go on John Grande's channel for one of his streams.
nice.
So I will be on there instead of being on my channel that night. So, and then we've got some more upcoming watch alongs for the weekend. Does anybody remember what the hell I was doing the watch alongs on? Because I can't give anything straight anymore.
Watch your video that you did.
Well, actually, I've got my little cheat sheet here. So we've got Children of the Corn on Saturday and the Breakfast Club on Sunday.
Ah,
So you guys and gals can look forward to all of that. And
it'll be a banner day at the Dana house.
yeah, at the Benningfield household. Um, so as I always say, I'm going to skedaddle on out of here for the night, and so is TJ. And I will see everyone on the flip side. Good night, chat. Good night, TJ. Thanks again,
Thank
and
you.
we'll
Bye,
see
guys.
everybody next time.
Go sleep.
Yeah, go to sleep now, please. Bye bye.